The Austin Soul enter their third season in the AUDL, a strong blend of athleticism and experience, with great fans and a determined belief to make a postseason run in 2018. The Los Angeles Aviators arrived to the Lone Star State more talented than ever, with a sizzle and substance of a legit championship contender. Tonight, for the first time in AUDL history, a West Coast team travels to Texas. It's the Aviators and the Soul, both looking to make an early season statement here on Stadium. Next. Texas, where sunny and breezy conditions await the...
Oh, that got me fired up. Who's ready for some Ultimate? Welcome to Thursday Night Rewind, presented by Deschutes. The Los Angeles Aviators and the Austin Soul, Chris Mazur and Matt Bennett joining me tonight. Gentlemen, how are we? Chris, what's going on the West Coast tonight?
It's just another beautiful day in paradise. It's great.
Now, you're still as busy or more busy as you were before the pandemic. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, as ever. My day job is working in music at Netflix, and it is a constant grind. We got ramped up into some really exciting, crazy titles like right when people ended up going home, and I work on the marketing team specifically, and it's just been work, probably 10, 11-hour days. So no rest for the weary out here.
So, like, had you seen Tiger King years ago and you knew that the hoopla was coming?
No, I didn't hear or see anything about Tiger King until, like, friends started telling me, like, what is this show and why is it your fault? And I was like, well, not my fault, but it is something else. And then, burned through it like everyone else. And as it caught fire, the team tried to do as much as possible around it, and it was a lot. It was a busy month, to say the least.
Good stuff. Matt Bennett is the man of the week on AUDL social media. Last night, live with Lep on Instagram Live, and tonight via Facebook, breaking down Austin and LA. Matt, how is everything in Houston this evening?
It's good, man. Just another beautiful day as well. Super lucky, really blessed throughout all this, and super happy to get to watch this with you guys because, man, this game is crazy.
I heard you had some intense table tennis earlier. Would you like to enlighten us what happened?
Yeah, man. I talked to you yesterday about it and how I haven't won in like a week and a half. And we played for 2.5 hours today because I was up like 4-2 in our sets. And so I was literally going to come brag to you today. They're like, dude, Evan, you're the man. I finally did it. And then, of course, I let him come back and I'm shattered. And thank God we have this because I was in a bad mood before we started.
Maybe tomorrow. There's always another day. Let's talk about this Austin-Los Angeles game. One of the greatest games I feel like I've ever called in my 6 years of broadcast in the AUDL, and I don't think that's hyperbole. I mean, the level of play throughout the game fluctuated. Each team had their good stretches and bad stretches, but in terms of anticipation, I mean, this game had never happened before. It felt really cool. Austin has great fans, great stadium, early in the season, beautiful night. Obviously, a lot of highlight reel plays. I mean, Chris, what do you remember about because obviously you had played with Dallas the previous couple of years, so you knew all about playing in Austin. What was the mindset of your new team as you went on the road? I believe for the first time, you guys were 1-0, beat San Diego, I think, in week 1. This was week 2. You guys go on the road to Austin, an experience that most of your teammates had never had before.
Yeah, it was such an interesting time. First year playing with LA, and all brand new teammates. I don't think I had a single person on the team that I'd played with previously. So my experience with them was really, really light. Practices were super different. The vibe was totally different. Things felt like oddly disjointed. And I remember like one of our first practices, guys were like jawing at each other's throats. And I was, I think we called some sort of like timeout, and I was like, guys, we're the only people we have. Like, you got to take care of number one, and we're number one. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's get together and be a real team. And I think I spoke for like 3 minutes, and then like the next week they nominated me captain. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And thankfully there was like a couple other captains, but there was clearly this like shifting sands in LA. They had grown players locally really, really well, and they just hadn't played in big games yet. And this felt like one of the first opportunities for a lot of them to play in big games. And it also was like the first time that all of the local talent decided like, hey, let's go play in LA, because they had kind of divided, right? They had gone and played in San Diego. Eli Freeman and Tom Doy, while they had played on the Aviators, they didn't play locally in LA, right? They played for club. They played up in San Francisco. And we had just picked up Jesse Cohen, who is, probably one of the most important guys on this O-line that is so undersung as a player. And this weekend was like that first test of like, oh, we're going to go play some like really hard teams, and this is going to be awesome. I remember feeling like distinctly like at home, but also very.
Yeah, no, well said. And that's an interesting dynamic about the Aviators. And I knew you were a captain, but I didn't really know the story of how you became captain. So that's fascinating. Matt, as we talked about last night on Instagram, the Austin Soul have had a lot of really good teams, but you haven't been able to get past Raleigh or Dallas in games that count for the most part. This had to feel like a really big game for you guys as a team to kind of prove you belonged in the upper echelon of the conversation in the league.
Yeah, the crazy thing about, just kind of looking at this game before we started was when everyone was on the field and we had our full 20, we really had a really talented roster. Even though some of our players were new, they had all played together for 10 years. So chemistry wasn't even that big a deal. The O-line, everyone was so in sync, and you can see it in this game, how they cut for each other so well. And then the D-lines were full of people that had played together, as younger players, where, me and Bobby or me and Doug and all the youth had played together for a couple of years and all the other stuff. And so you look back at it and you remember, oh my God, this team really could have been good. Barring a ton of injuries and a ton of scheduling conflicts, as half our team was mid-30s, as you put it, during the game. So it was a really interesting start of the year, because that was our home opener. That was the first time Kieran had played a game. That was the first time Tank had played a game. He had coached before. And the worst thing is that game really got our hopes up, man. We thought that was going to be our year. That was going to be one of the, that was the defining moment when Kyle made. It was a very interesting start to a year that we weren't really sure how it was going to go.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of ebbs and flows of this game, and we can start to dive in and see what happens. Mazur, what you got?
I got a point on that, is that like this Austin squad I thought was better than the Dallas squad this season. And I remember distinctly after this game making a bet with Michael Keoy and being like, Austin is going to win 10 games this season. So like totally echo everything, Matt, you just said, because I was like convinced you guys were going to win the South. I was like, this is the year. Like if they can steal one from Raleigh at home, like they're going to win the South.
Mazur's old team tomorrow, but first things first, the Austin Soul, you said it, Ian, he knows the Soul very well.
What's funny is we did steal one from Raleigh at home, and it still did not win 10 games, unfortunately.
Older players who perhaps have been out of the fold in the elite ultimate community for the last few years.
So I remember this was a beautiful night, and really nice crowd, and this great facility, House Park, which the Soul don't play all their games there, but kind of that's the big game venue, I feel like.
Yeah, Actually, the first season they did play every single game there. But it just, got a little expensive, and we found another field that was still in downtown, which is a big, decider how many people show up. The further we would get kind of north of Austin, less people would show up. So we definitely tried to commit to House Park and the one we currently play at, which is still kind of downtown.
I feel like I only ever played here. Like this was like the one venue that I got to go to. Sorry about that, Evan. You go ahead.
No, you're fine. This was game 2 for the Aviators, game 1 for the Soul. Matt, I assume you had done some scouting on game 1. Chris, was everybody just kind of asking you what to expect from the Soul?
There was definitely some prep. I definitely gave as much information as I could to the coaching staff and the other leadership. And I think the message I generally got was like, hey, we're going to play our game. Like, thanks, but like, we're going to focus on us. And I was like, okay, cool. That's fine. But it's also going to be windy. So like every game you've ever played has been in like the most perfect conditions of your life. And I was definitely worried about the like windy conditions in Texas just in general, and knew that it was going to be tough for everyone. Because like we had a cakewalk in our first game. Like we beat San Diego by we might have doubled them up. Like it was just like crazy. Like we were getting more breaks than offensive holds. It was nuts.
Matt, you look like you enjoy watching that.
Well, it's funny because you said that, and the very first point, they overthrow it because it's windy. And we immediately come out. Bobby rips a 50-yard flick upwind that they're not ready for. And then I rip a 35-yard flick upwind that is wide open. And I'm just laughing because he's literally saying exactly all of that stuff that just happened. So, I mean, the funny part is you're saying all this like in the background. Evan's like, it's pretty windy. We're going to have to see who deals with this well. And immediately we just go upwind. So
occasionally as a broadcaster, you get lucky like that. It's nice.
Yeah, it's funny because like there's enough intentional like guys not taking shots upwind. You actually, I seem to remember you can't really tell how windy it is by watching.
Yeah.
It's
looks like the same 7 is on the field for the most part for Los Angeles. Tim Beatty knifes that one through the middle. Brent George. There's the first touch.
And we lost Mazur for a moment. He'll be back.
Right. Nope. I was going to tell Mazur that the one rule I had for him for drinking is he needs to drink every time Chase turns it over. Because I'm pretty sure Chase has like 10 in this game. Chase, love you, baby.
Really?
You're the best. Yeah, so one thing you'll notice actually is I think after I go down in this game, they still need kind of a gunslinger or whatever. So they put Chase on D-line, which I think also kind of is part of that on O-line. He was just trying to do too much. And that's where Kyle Hinkie becomes like this stalwart of the O-line. And so like from the second half, he rises like a phoenix from the ashes. It's quite the dynamic and also a really good coaching decision. But just a really funny thing to kind of watch play out as the game goes on.
And I just checked the stats. It's not quite double-digit throwaways, but it's close.
Not quite.
So,
We'll leave it at that.
Besmirching Chase double-digit throwaways.
Don't worry, he knows too. He like texted me. He's like, "Please don't bash me too much."
You'll bash him about the choice he made to leave Austin, but perhaps not this game.
Oh, and that's one. Thank you, Christopher.
Is that our built-in drinking game? I think that's it.
That's just for you. You can pick one for me for your team. Whenever your team does something, I will take that drink. But
Ooh, that's good.
I also another thing that made me laugh kind of all game that I was planning on taking a drink for is every time they show Aaron Weaver and his shirt looks 4 sizes too big.
So true.
And a good thing, he makes a ton of plays this game. He looks, I think he has 3 layout Ds. He's a total like defensive monster, but every time they'd show him, his shirt was just like bouncing up and down because it was so big.
Mazur, what were your first impressions of Weaver?
My first impressions were that it was a nightmare to try to get open on him in practice. Like both him and McDougal were two guys that I had to like be guarded by and guard in practice, and I was like, man, these guys are like so fast. They're like fast and quick and just like make plays, and I was like, ugh, they're just annoying. And they're so hard to get open on. And I was like, thank God they're on our team. That was like my absolute first impression.
So Mazur, you mentioned that your team wasn't all that receptive to hearing scouting reports, and you didn't really know what you had, and now you're broken back-to-back points to start the game. I mean, do you have any recollection of did the energy dip on the sideline? Was there anger? How did you guys respond?
No, in like typical SoCal fashion, it's just like chill, all good, don't worry about it. Just a couple points. It's gonna happen. Like there's while I said all that other stuff, there was very much this a distinct confidence with this team in everything that happened, and even when mistakes were being made, it was felt like, okay, we're still confident in the group of guys we have. Like, yeah, people are going to make mistakes, but like, don't sweat it. There's like so much talent, and it's just like, it's all good. It's going to be fine. Maybe almost too much confidence. Like there are throws that like Tyler Bacon will make, or like that Tim Beatty will make, and it's just like, what and why did you? Oh, it worked. Okay, awesome.
I guess in order to be a good player, you got to have some overconfidence sometimes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Chase Cunningham. All right, last time I'll dig on him. Sorry, that was so mean. He didn't deserve that.
Last time this quarter?
Yeah, last time this quarter.
We're really focused on Mazur here on the broadcast.
Oh, I noticed that. I was watching yesterday. They show him nonstop. Also, there's one point, Mazur, where it's a long point, and we end up finally scoring, and you're guarding me. And I try to high-five you, and you totally ignore me. So I do the old back to tying my shoe thing. And I've never been so embarrassed for myself in my entire life. I'll tell you when it happened, because we both suck. Oh, it's so sad.
Oh, brutal. Oh, that's funny.
Chris, did you know Bennett at all before playing with him on the 2016 Roughnecks at the end of the year?
No, not at all. We met.
What was your first impression of Bennett?
No.
First impression, man. I'm trying to remember what the first impression would have been. It would have been at a
nice
practice,
shot right there.
No, we didn't meet until game.
Oh, you didn't go to.
It was your very first game. Was the very first time I met you. It was like halfway through the year when you came to a game, when you finally moved down, and you upside down pulled. And I was like, this guy is the coolest person on the team. I want to be him when I grow up.
Yeah, and then Pat sat me for the rest of the game.
He was so mad at you. It was a good pull, too. You got it. Yeah.
He also was just like, yeah, and I have to sit you, right? And I was just like, okay, that's fine. Oh, man. No, it was my first
Before
impression.
We get too...
My first impression, Evan, was that, like, I remember watching a lot of the Roughnecks before I got there and thinking, like, this is the exact kind of player that you want to take care of and marshal a D-line. Like, someone that's going to work pretty hard, pick his spots, but then, like, totally open up the D-line offense and punish another team's O-line. Like, other teams' O-lines do not want to give it away and have Matt have the disc in his hands. It's just like a total nightmare. You're looking at it and you're, well, I have to
Here we go, right on cue.
3 inch of the field.
Right.
And it's frustrating to have to be like, oh, I have to guard that deep hammer space. I have to guard this like regular flick huck space, a backhand huck space. Oh wait, and this whatever scooper space he throws from like 50 yards out, like, okay, that's a nightmare. Like, no one wants to be guarding that, and so other O-lines just hate it. And I remember thinking like, this is dope. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this guy. And I think we went out after the first game and like connected and like hung out and like had a great time, and we like probably went out to karaoke and got like super lit up and just like immediately we're friends, just like without like instant.
Bennett, you were pretty dialed in at the start of this one.
Dude, man, Mazur was putting it like, he was asking me if I was in good shape coming into this game. I literally think this was the best shape I'd ever been in. I was super excited to play for Seoul because, as we talked about last night, I was kind of, bitter about Dallas not getting to play at the end of that game when we ended up losing to Toronto. So I came in with kind of a chip on my shoulder into the season, and I was working out, like I was doing track workouts 2-3 times a week. We had practice every weekend. I mean, I was hitting it hard. And let me tell you, all my friends would tell me, like, I'm not that kind of player. I'm a stay in shape by playing kind of guy. But I came in, I was ready. I was playing every single D point in the first quarter. Shout out to Bigley, the coach, who kind of had, that trust that I could stay in shape and make sure I wasn't too tired to be out there. But I came in, I was feeling great. It was windy, which is, good for me, less good for others. Yeah, so I was excited for the season when we came in, but things never don't quite work out sometimes.
The wind is kind of similar to what it is now. Last week in Raleigh at this time, it was about 40 degrees colder and raining.
And what's funny during this game is...
Go ahead.
You're good. I want people to watch in this first half because everyone knows about this game at the end that Kyle Hinkey makes this crazy play. We don't utilize him quite well enough in the first half. Well, I hope people know. All I said was crazy play. We don't utilize him nearly well enough. But you'll see kind of as the game goes on how he really develops and he ends up helping the team in a very specific way that we'll call out later. But, oh, God, there's just a guy dead on the field.
Yeah.
And then another guy goes down, too. He's like, oh, thank God, the point is over. Oh, wait, Mazur, this is the point where I think you totally reject me at the end. So thanks for that.
You wonder if one of these could be a cramp.
Do we see that on camera, Matt?
Say again? Yeah, oh, it's on camera.
Do we see it on camera?
It's
okay. Good.
Yeah. After they score, I try to highlight. After we score, I should. Yeah, it's so sad.
It's interesting. This Aviators team, I remember thinking that there was like a lot of like pretty raw athletic ability, and it seemed like the team could be good. And like looking back at this game and seeing the guys that are like playing in this game, it's like,
there he goes.
Oh, there it is.
Don't worry, they replay it too.
It's
one more time, Luke. One more time.
I try to give you a hand. I try to get you.
Yeah, right.
So, watch it. Number 2 in blue. Number 2 in blue, looking for the high five. Nope. Goes for the shoelace.
Oh, I've never been so embarrassed in my life.
That's great. That's really good. It was not an intentional big leaguing, I promise.
I'm sure.
This was definitely like a very balanced, deep team, though, of like role players, and it reminded me a lot. See, I tried. I reached back.
Yeah, right. No one.
You didn't try that hard.
I didn't try that hard. Balanced deep team that like very much was like that Roughnecks 2016 team. Except it has, Eli Friedman and
minus
Tom
10
Doy.
star players.
Yeah, it's different star players, but all very good players. I mean, Zach Theodore is as good of a big man defender as anyone in the league. I mean, that dude, absolutely balls, and he does it very humbly and very quietly, and only picks his spots.
I like him.
You know, and like the down the roster role players, like a guy like Michael Kiwa is very solid, does a lot of things right. This guy Matt Theologity has an absolute cannon.
Oh,
One of the best names in the
such a
game.
Weird play. What a weird play.
this is the play that got the Aviators offense going.
Back in the game.
That's what got us back in the game. That thing. Right. And here's the start of Sean McDougal. Like, this is like the coming of age for him as a star. And I think in some way he just needed like a no restriction shooter to show up to town and just throw it as far as possible to figure out how fast he was. Because like all season long, all I do is just throw it low and fast and as far as I humanly can, and like he just catches everything. It's like you can't miss. It's bonkers. And so like by the time we get to the end of the season, like the bottom of the roster role players are guys like Jeff Silverman. And Evan, that probably makes you think like, no way.
Whoa.
Like
He's like a top 5 player. He's so good this game. I wouldn't call him a role
he's so
player.
good. But like his impact per game is like one block and some lockdown defense. That's
except when you guys are on except when you're on national TV, and then he gets like 3 blocks and 4 goals.
Right.
Because he raises his game for the cameras.
He just raises his game for every moment. I feel like he's a total baller, right? And like anyone who's ever played with him, they're like, this guy's unreal as an athlete. And when you look at like championship weekend time, it's like he was a role player, and like that's the kind I think Dallas 20 had with like the Larbergs were role players, right? Matt,
I like that.
Role player.
I like that.
Right? And so that very similar in that regard.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is during this game, you watch the first quarter, and there is no like rhyme or reason to the lines that we're throwing out there as Austin Soul. Like, I can't tell if it's an upwind downwind thing. I can't tell. I mean, the O line is like he at least keeps the older players together because they have that chemistry. And admittedly, they weren't coming to very many practices, so that was pretty smart of him to come like kind of keep them together. But just watching this, it's really strange. Like all of a sudden, our D line was just going downwind on an O point. And to be fair, we just threw like 4 scoopers and it was a score. But it's just really strange because y'all do the exact opposite. Evan says it at one point in this game. He goes, they are throwing the same O-line out there. I think it's like 3 times in a row, even though y'all got broken. So 2 totally different team philosophies as far as how we were running the teams, especially with the win, which throws a total wrench in everything. But especially with Chase out here, you never know what you're supposed to do.
So once again, Cunningham initiates off the turnover.
Ooh.
Cunningham has been an anchor for the
We think he turns it over this point.
The past 2 seasons.
Probably.
Your trust is incredible. This is a great throw, but an incredible D. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not on Chase.
That's not on Chase. That was Purcell. Yeah, I would throw that too. Probably worse, actually.
Just a better defensive play from Tom Doy. Cunningham played at the University of Texas.
Tom Doy has a
Toner's
really,
on.
really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That disc is going to be caught just shy of the end zone.
Man, that's a great throw.
And Friedman flips it for the
What?
goal. Brent George with his first score of the season. And we'll get our
Who are y'all missing on your O-line in this game? It's Elbogen and Jesse.
to go in the opening quarter.
I think that's right. I think those are the only 2 guys that we're missing at this point.
And
But we
I
really
got to
don't
play
have
with Jesse
Elbogen.
the whole year.
We don't. Say that again?
I said the whole year, right? He's ACL out for like ever.
Tonight from Austin, Texas.
No. It's Elbogen is out for the whole season.
Oh, okay.
And Jesse has like a wrist injury, but he ends up playing most of the year. Like the start of the offense and one of the main cutters. This is also one of the weirdest seasons I think I've ever been a part of because like okay, all right, I'm pulling right here. This is game 2. This team
Your
is
pulls
like,
are incredible this game.
I was like, thanks, dude. this feels like, okay, this is gonna be the role. Like, I'm gonna be a defensive handler. I'm gonna take the other team's worst player so that I don't get burned. And that's literally my strategy playing defense. And look, I'm like running around like an idiot, like help. I'm always calling for help.
Me too, baby.
And it's like, and then like, let's shoot on the turn and like, let's get some breaks.
This is such a good throw.
Yeah, that's bonkers. So good. What?
It was a strip for sure. Wasn't close.
Yeah, it looked like it was.
He tried to milk it.
And so like we're like 3 games in, or two or 3 games in, and like by the end of this weekend, the coaching staff is like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to play defensive handler anymore. You're going to be offensive cutter for the rest of the season." It's just like, what? Oh, okay. And then like for the rest of the season, the string is like they call me as the first cut. I'm like, what is going on? Like it was like utility pulling defensive back. Like it was the strangest season.
This D line is so tall. Look how we got Josh, who's like 6'8". Mick is 6'6".
Mick looks small.
Mick looks small, and the sad, like Mick. This is like the year before Mick really becomes like Mick Walter, possibly the best player in the AUDL. But our team, and then we have Ethan on the O line, and you have Walsh and Kyle Hinkie, which I found out in this game is 6'3". And then Jared Wolf plays like he's 6'5". So, I mean, I didn't realize how tall our team was, which is why even better in the wind. Oh, to ignore this throw that I throw here to nobody.
Mm-hmm. To
no one. Here's a chance for you to go up by 5, 10 minutes into the game, and
we get this one back.
A drink right there.
Yeah, but we get this one back, so this point's not my fault. That's how I look at life, by the way. See, turnover. I'm all right. But yeah, so that was one thing. Y'all's team was pretty short. Like Listener was one of your taller dudes. I mean, Brent George is 5'8". Yeah, I mean, your team was crazy
Brent
short,
George is
but y'all make a lot of plays. Look at him. What is he? 5'8", 5'9"?
Like 5'11".
Oh, okay. I'm 5'11" too then. I mean, Tim Beatty is pretty short.
Yeah, the team is absolutely undersized. Like we are for sure undersized.
And Tom Doe. I mean, you were one of the taller guys. What are you, like 5'11", 6 foot?
Yeah, at 6 foot, I was usually guarding like a tall cutter. I think I ended up guarding Kyle most of the second half of this game.
Oh wow!
Terrible matchup, by the way.
Just not great. Well, I remember thinking this was a really bad no call by Beatty. Like, come on. And he does an integrity rule when Jay calls this on me. What? I didn't touch it. Come on.
I got to plead the fifth on that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Soft. Just kidding, Tim, in case you're watching.
Oh, Jesus.
That was a great hammer. Just beautiful. Yeah, one of my favorite players on this Soul team actually is Jared Wolf. He might be one of the old guys that came back, but he acts the youngest. He is probably in better shape than every single person on the team. He has the best workout philosophy of anyone because it's all chest and biceps, baby. And that's what you're supposed to do when you're a Frisbee player. But in reality, he's just such a good defensive player. He's got great hips. He knows how to use footwork. And then he also knows kind of his limits on letting people get 2 steps ahead of him so that he can always jump over people when a shot goes up. So, I mean, you'll see he makes a lot of incredible plays this game. His first game back in 3 years. So I love that guy.
This was his first game back in 3 years?
Mm-hmm. And you never know it. Except for he cramps in like the third quarter.
Just gonna have to
I remember
correct you there. Matt, he played 12 games in 2016, and this was the start of the
So it's 2
2018
years?
season. Oh,
Okay, so 2
he
years.
missed the 2017 season, but yeah.
Oh, he just didn't play club. That's what I was thinking. And I
What's
wasn't on
club?
Soul back then.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I never heard of it. Yeah.
Still early, but it appears Natenberg's still in his prime.
What is that throat chase?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
That's
It's like easy block for the second guy, and Jeff's like, nope, mine.
I know. And Ian like really talks that up. He's like, you know, an incredible D that you just don't see coming by Silverman. Well, duh, you don't see it coming. The other guy was standing right there. Y'all make a lot of great upwind hucks. Mazur, you have 2 in this game that are like 70 yards. One gets called back on a travel, but they're just absolute rips. Yeah, I actually thought it was a bad call, and then I went back and rewatched it. It was a good call. You really 40 feet just dragging and taking an extra step, but doesn't matter. It was still pretty.
You could call travel on me every single time I throw the disc. I stopped arguing because I was like, I started watching footage of it. I was like, wow, I am terrible. I need to stop traveling.
You have a light foot.
A light foot. That's it.
So Matt, the Soul had the disc a few different times to go up 8-3, and then you give up the goal, and then you get broken here with 5 seconds to go, and all of a sudden it's a 2-goal game. Like you kind of missed an opportunity to not necessarily put the game away, but almost.
Yeah, no. I mean, actually, at the end of this quarter, when it goes to like a break, Ian says, man, I'm really glad Soul screwed a couple of those up because now it's a game and we can really still be invested. And I think there's no better way to put it than like, man, we really just took some stupid shots we didn't need, especially at the end of a quarter when there's 15 seconds left. We tried to score with like it was 2 seconds left instead of 15. It was so strange. And then on D-line, we made our mistakes as well. There were a couple of calls where, listener threw that one deep and it came back on a travel. And then there was another turnover and it came back on a foul. So we were, the anti-beneficiary of a couple of weird calls by the refs. But, it could have been 9-3. Instead, it's 7-5.
For the record, that last throw of the quarter was another turn that I will not blame on Chase because Buzzer's winding down.
Fine.
He's got to. Catching up on a couple questions from the chat. If you have questions for Chris, Matt, or myself, feel free to drop a line. Matt Bennett, Kevin Pettit-Scantling would like a story about Andrew Walsh.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? Okay, hopefully he doesn't get too mad at me for saying a couple of these. One of these you mentioned in a game that just a week before the game we were having our party for, the women's equivalent, the Austin Torch. And he was just trying to cut some meat, I think, and he just cut off half of his finger. Or at least the one knuckle of it. I mean, he cut a good piece of his finger off. And of course he is stoic. Like he literally is like, oh guys, I think I cut some of it off. And like that was it. He like just texted the group me. He doesn't care at all about anything. But one of the more embarrassing Walsh stories is that, in the last 10 years, I think he's probably finished people's like trash or when we eat out. Anytime someone's like, well, I'm definitely done and there's just scraps left on their plate, he just grabs it without them knowing and just like finishes it and doesn't tell anyone. And I'm telling you, it's not like the rest of the food. It's like the fat at the end of the steak or like some of the bread, like the bread at the end of the chicken. He is a monster, y'all. He will eat whatever is on the table, no matter how far away it is. He will get out of his chair. He will go get your plate, and it will not go to the kitchen until it is empty. He's my boy.
And yet he's the skinniest guy on the team.
I know. It makes no sense. But, I mean, the thing about Walsh is there's not a single person that doesn't love him. And I think that's a really key way to put it when you talk about Andrew Walsh is that he's never said anything to make anyone mad. He's never done anything to make anybody mad. He kind of lives in his own world until he's needed and he's there for you. He's just the best kind of guy.
Well said.
Here we go. Los Angeles.
Here we go.
Defense. And apparently we weren't ready to go.
that first
Nice
quarter
shot of
was
downtown Austin.
something else.
Right.
I like looking back at it. Y'all were up 5-1, and it's like I remember being so excited when the first quarter ended and we scored last because I was like, we got a break. We did it. Like, it's a free
We
break.
did it.
Not only did we get the break, we got a break and scored last, like with a break, which meant like we scored 2 in a row to finish and y'all didn't score last. And I was like, this is it. Like, we're going to be in this game. This is fantastic. And I think that was like part of the team. Look at the wind whipping, by the way. Like, it was gusting hard that night. But I remember thinking like we did, like, this is big for us. Like, we're in this game. And I remember like marching around the sidelines, like pumping guys up, thinking like, you better feel it. Like, we're here. This is it. Like, all the jitters are gone. Like, you're on television, but like, just play your game. Like, here we are.
Something this O-line did horrible all game was they would just hold it and no one would move, and they'd look at stall at like 5 for a dump. They'd look and no one was wide open, so they'd look back upfield and just throw it right to the defense. And to be fair, that was still a great play. But you see it time and time again in this game. That O-line was, oh my, what a... But yeah, it was...
Who plays Ultimate with more of a... Sorry, Matt, but who plays Ultimate with more of a smile on his face than Weaver? Like, have you guys ever had a teammate or an opponent that is smiling more on... Like, he makes this great layout, and he's just like... It's like Mickey Mouse running down the field.
That's a great block there by Ethan Pollard.
You know what's funny is Theodore on y'all's team is always smiling. He makes 3 really bad mistakes this game, like, you know, bless his heart. 2 drops in the end zone that were like right in his hand, and he is smiling the entire time. He's just laughing at himself. I love it. I fell in love with him after this game, man. He's great.
Yeah, you'd love him as just like a person too. Like, he's the best to be around. Just like so genuine and sweet and positive, and like, yeah, he's fantastic. And just like grows the mustache because it's this hilarious thing to have. Like, totally like eats it up and buys into it. It's so great.
I totally forgot Ted Barnett was on this team. Like, we played with him in Dallas for 2 years, and then all of a sudden you're on the same team with him again, but in a city 24 hours away. What are the odds?
Dude,
look at you, Mazur. You're being such a leader.
Oh, we didn't even have our head coach. Like, we got Dugan, and Dugan was like right there as the acting head coach.
Wait until your D-line has made some progress.
Yeah, this is what I was thinking of when I mentioned this.
Oh my
like,
God!
In this game, go get it. Yeah, dude, I am hyped for this slot.
You're yelling at them.
If you were mic'd up there, how many times do we had to bleep you?
Oh, over under 4.
Probably not that many. Like, when I'm that fired up and like yelling like that, I'm generally not cursing. I'm usually like, I'm using like positive words with an aggressive tone to make a point so that it's like heard and people are like buying into it. Because I feel like whenever someone's just like swearing at me, I'm just like, I like to write them off as like not saying something intelligent. They're just being emotional. So I try to like use good content with a loud vibe.
That's why they ran all those track workouts before they got on the
Mazur, question for you from the chat, courtesy of the Irish great Liam Grant. When are you giving up Ultimate to pursue your true calling of becoming a broadcaster?
Oh man, is he just like, is that actually from Chuck? And Chuck is just using an alias? I feel like. Oh man.
Could be.
I mean, I would love to broadcast. The problem is like the first few times I casted, I had so many like horrible mistakes that I just know that I would just get myself in trouble too much. And I told Chuck, I was like, yeah, I mean, I think if I stop playing, I'll probably try to coach. I think coaching is something I'd love to do more. I coached high school and youth.
Oh, this is where I get. My ankle. This is it.
So Luke, let's go back and watch it again, and Matt, take us through it.
So I throw this throw to Josh, and I want to go back and get it. And so at one point I say, Matt is clear. He does not hear me. So I'm running right behind him. He thinks he's the guy that's the reset. And so when Josh throws it, usually I would have, I'll let Mathis have it, but I've always said, if the disc is near you, try to catch it. And so he steps right here on my ankle. And then as that happens, my other ankle catches the turf. And so all my weight is going onto the ankle that catches the turf. And it snaps all 3 ligaments. So I'm out for like 10 weeks. I literally could hear all 3 pop. It was like pop, pop, pop. Got these nice new cleats that I bought. These nice new tights. And,
You'd actually been working out.
I had been, yeah. What a waste. So all you young players out there. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so you can see it.
God,
yeah.
slow-mo.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
And I literally immediately grabbed the ankle. It sucks. It's
Look who helped him off the field.
I know. And during the broadcast, you say, I wonder if they're talking trash to each other. And it's the exact opposite. He's like, Matt, dude, you were crushing it out there. Like, I'm so sad for you. Like, I could tell you were ready to go. It's like, dude, you're so nice, but also I'm so sad, so it doesn't matter. It was brutal.
Dude, I think I ran out on the field to get you off the field too. I was like,
without thinking.
I like forgot what jersey I was wearing. I was like genuinely so bummed. And like just Ugh.
But yeah, it is what it is. That's the first time I've ever been seriously injured in my life. So, you got to count your blessings.
So Matt,
and as soon as I get hurt.
What's going on the sidelines for you now, Matt? What are you saying to the trainer? What's the trainer saying to you? How much are you dialed in watching the last 3 quarters of this game?
Yeah, so for only about 3 points, they keep asking me questions, and I just keep telling them, I promise you, this is snapped. It is completely snapped. I will not be playing for a couple months. I've had a lot of ankle injuries, so I know when it's a sprain versus something serious. And I could feel it. I could tell you the snaps that I heard were so different. So at that point, I'm just just give me some crutches. If I can just walk around, that'd be great. And I don't move over until halftime back to my sideline. And then after that, I'm the most vocal person on the sideline. I'm just yelling at every single person. I'm trying to make sure that we win the game. As much as we tried to give it away, it felt like sometimes. But it was so intense. The crazy thing about being hurt is you don't really live out of that moment until the game's over. Because especially when you get to play the first quarter and we were up by 4 and you felt like you really got to give yourself to at least a little bit of the game, you just want to make sure you win and that the injury wasn't not worth it. And then after the game ends, you're more like, oh my God, my season's over.
How much pain were you in on the sideline?
I couldn't put any weight on it. Every once in a while, if we make a great play, I would accidentally try to put my feet down, or I'd jump up and down and be happy, and it was excruciating. I couldn't put weight on it for about a month. I had to get X-rays and all that good stuff. It was the worst injury I've ever had. It sucked, but at the same time, there's so many exciting plays. That was the worst part about it. It was hard not to react so vehemently and excitedly during this kind of game.
Go ahead, Mazur.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that conversation, but it's interesting how the point ends there, because the beginning of that point, so what was that, 6-7? I'm gonna have to remember this just to show this concept. Andrew Padula and Alex Drum are guarding the 2 primary handlers on Austin, and they keep them trapped on the sideline while Austin's trying to run a standard give and go upline cutting sequence here. So it starts on the sideline, and watch these 2 defenders right here, guy on the mark and guy guarding in the backfield. They're both pretty quick, and this entire time they're just going to run a guard and switch. They've switched once. Guard and hold the mark so it's no around, guard, and looks like they're going to switch, and then they switch. And it's they're manipulating the whole time as they're doing this. And it's maybe some of the best work in terms of what some teams call a roll, but just handler switching. And that's clinical defense in a point that ends up where Austin does get out of it. Like, hats off to Austin here. They finally get it downfield and they move it all the way, right? But like that moment, if you're going to teach switching on handler defense, you probably can just show that clip and see effectiveness.
And what's important is that's the high sideline, so that switching is even more impressive and more, important, because they know to keep it on that sideline, and so their switching is so purposeful. When you do that kind of switching and it doesn't really matter because there's no wind, okay, but it's so on purpose because they want it to stay on this sideline. And you could tell that's really all we had for 10 throws.
Yeah, exactly. And you can tell, like, there are moments when they're like, okay, I don't have to mark a standard mark here because I know we're in this switching pattern and the other guy is coming in and taking away the angle, right? And like that's the kind of thing that's like really special. And the last time I got to chat on one of these things, I was chatting with Kurt about defense and how great of a defender Dylan Freechild is because of how he switches without communicating. He knows when to just take a guy because he sees someone else burned and assumes that his team is as good of a defender and is going to make the switch with him. And when they are, it's like just great defense. And that's like another moment where you see this like intrinsic connection between two guys who have played in LA for like 3 or 4 years, built this great chemistry, haven't ever played in like big games, and like put them against some really good players and they're going to step up and be good. Like they're going to play really well.
What's funny is watching this game, Purcell and Beatty is so fun because they're like each 5'5". And Purcell gets caught like 4 times hip checking him on the mark. But I was thinking like this game wasn't super ref heavy. And I don't know if maybe actually no game is ref heavy unless you're playing in it. But outside of the normal like kind of hip checking that there is, I mean, this is a clean game.
Yeah.
Which I just love so much. It makes me happy watching a game where the refs don't try to put themselves in the middle of everything. Oh.
That's a throwing mechanics issue in throwing an upwind flick.
Oh, I think Chase turns it over. Oh, no, it's a beauty.
Oh, that's a beaut.
Mm-hmm. I'll drink for that one, Chase. Sorry, baby.
There's another former Roughneck playing in this game. So we got four former Roughnecks playing in this game.
Is that true? Yeah. And then like 4 future Roughnecks.
Yeah, right.
Kyle and Chase and
Matt, in the chat, your brother Mitch claims that he left the stadium to go get you crutches. True or false?
He did. Yeah. He God, what a good brother. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I want to stand up, but there's nothing. I just have to sit. He's like, dude, I'll just run to the house because he had just he was going to be on the team too. He was in pretty good shape. He had really been running as well. And as you know, I mean, in the last 2 years, he had been a stalwart of the offense on Austin Soul. And then at minicamp, one of our players laid out near his foot and landed right on top of it as it was like standing up, and he broke like metatarsals or whatever it was. And he was out the entire season. I mean, he couldn't play at all. So he had just finished being on crutches, and now he was in a boot for like 8 weeks. And so I got to use his crutches. So kind of a sad story, but at least it was good for me for 3 quarters.
Tough year for the Bennett Bros.
Tough year. Tough year.
Austin defense there. Perhaps there was a little bit of miscommunication on if there was deep coverage coming out of that side stack, but
it's funny because you mentioned that the crowd is so good for this game. They really trickle in slowly, but by the second half they are so loud for every single play. That's the one.
I mean,
that's a good play, though.
The game we're 5 minutes into the second quarter, and Weaver's got 2 layout blocks.
And there's at least one more coming. This is a great throw. Psych! Still works, though.
Total bailout, yeah.
But each team gets 2 of those all game. So as long as it's fair.
I just assumed that was how Dugan drew it up.
Yeah. Like absolute stonewalled everywhere, all over the field, stall 6, punt, and then off to the races, right? And then just like no one can play defense after that.
It's funny. That same guy throws one about like late into the 3rd quarter for a really important break. And Dugan calls Dugan calls a timeout 1 second before he throws it and screws your team out of a break. But after seeing that, I don't know why he would have called it. It's like pretty much like he drew it up at this point.
Yeah.
Mazur, have you ever played with Tank Natenberg?
I haven't, no. I have been fortunate enough to learn from him a little bit in a couple conversations back in 2016, and also from his wife Kara, who is one of the
so good
minds of Ultimate that so many people have learned from and learned the game and learned how to be not just like a great player but like a great person and like all of those things. So like someone that as like a true like backbone of the Austin Ultimate community, someone that like you have to mention whenever you're watching Austin Ultimate.
Oof.
What a throw.
On stall 6.
Into the wind.
Into the wind. Yeah, he doesn't even make it look like there's any wind on that throw. It doesn't move at all. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
He also had him right there. He definitely could have thrown it, but whatever. Not as pretty. Also, that guy got caught in no man's land. What is he doing?
Brandon's he's not guarding anything.
Well, he was guarding Mick, and he tried to poach because Mick was clearing out. Then Mick stopped.
Yeah, well then do it. Like go do the double team. Oh man.
Hot take: Jeff Lascorn is the best player to ever come out of Austin, Texas.
You think Stevie Presley's not one of the? I love DJ so much, so I'm not gonna talk crap because I love that man so much. It's weird.
Mazur, you and Jeff were teammates on Team USA, right?
Oh, yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Isn't he the best?
He's the best. He's the best. Yeah. And why am I playing offense? What is going on? This team, like,
they need you, Chris.
It's like they're done. We're like, okay, we had strategy, and now we're done with that.
I actually like this little zone we threw for a little while. And it really did stop stuff for a little bit, but I think this point ends up going pretty smoothly for you guys. Oh, that's the rip, dude. It's so good. It's a beauty.
Oh, wow. That doesn't look so bad.
Yeah.
That'll
I don't know how he got 80 yards open, but
you must have been pissed you didn't get the stat.
Okay, Evan, not all of us are all about the stats, okay?
Just some of us.
Evan, I hold a record that I will forever hold in the history of sports, and I am fine with it.
Go on.
Most turnovers in MLU history.
That's
Do you know the exact number?
I had no idea.
No, because they messed up the stats so bad that they had to like them, and so I have no idea what's accurate or not. But like the year that I was East Coast MVP, I had like 65 turnovers and like 30 of them were unaccounted for. It was ridiculous.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was so dumb.
But let me tell you, I respect that so much. The one year I played with Hip, I led nationals in assists and turnovers. Darn
there
it.
You go.
If that's not the goal.
Shooters got to shoot.
Shooters got to shoot. It's crazy. We had 2 kids under 19 years old on this team. I kind of forgot. Oh, that's our boy Hanky. It all starts right now.
We'll talk
That's
more
it?
about
That's
Hanky in
the
the
moment?
second half. But he was playing, college conferences earlier in the day, a few hours
he
away.
played sectionals. He drove from Waco. He got there an hour, like 40 minutes later than he said he would. Coach was pissed. Almost sat him. Almost said, no, we're putting a practice player in. He's like, dude, I drove 2 hours. Like, come on. And then he ended up literally having an incredible second half. We're very lucky that he ended up being the Kyle Hinkie that we all knew and love.
Give Ryan Bigley all the credit.
Oh, we can't give Ryan Bigley credit. He'll take it and use it for 10 years.
This was Bigley's first game as sole head coach, right?
It was. He was very involved. He was a great coach. I think he really leaned on kind of his star players to, we did a lot of scouting. Like the whole year I was kind of the scouter and I did all the matchups and we were kind of the opposite, Chris. We came into this game, every single person had the only 2 players they're allowed to guard. And
Wow.
what throw they favored, if they liked an inside or around, especially upwind or downwind. So we were like, I went after it. Didn't seem to help too much, but because y'all scored pretty easily. But yeah, we went very scout heavy because I worked from home, and so I was very involved.
And that's Bacon throwing up the U. That's
He
funny.
really did, dude.
He throws up the U. He throws up the U, which I'm like always excited about because I went to Miami. And
Yeah.
like I want you with him, right? But like that's not what he's doing. He's throwing up the U because it's like the nickname for his house in like San Diego.
You mean Santa Barbara?
Dude, look at
Santa
this pull,
Barbara.
though.
Sorry, why did I say San Diego? Santa Barbara. That was downwind, Matt. Come on.
You have one, I think maybe the very last point of the game, or at least one of the last 2. You put it within 3 yards of the corner. And I'm thinking, how the hell do we score this point? And of course we do, which makes no sense because we can't score when you put it at the 40. But I was literally like, oh my God, Chris Mazur, you animal.
Well,
At least you've got one use, huh?
one thing. I can do one thing. I can throw it far. Whoa!
Oh. What is that throw?
Unnecessary scuba.
Even Ian goes, interesting. Beautiful.
Wow, that's really
Full
nice flow.
subconscious, they're like, the guy that throws all our scoobers is out. We got to step it up.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, right. Oh man.
I think that was the last time I clean shaved as well. Because ever since then, I clean shaved for the game. I thought it was going to be a new start. So, beards only. Mazur, what's the favorite, like the number you usually go with when you play on a team? Did you get it when you got to play with the Aviators, or did someone already have it?
Matt, I don't know. I did not tee you up with this question, but I love that you asked this of me because I'm wearing a 39 jersey right now. It's the number that I started wearing when I moved to LA, and it is my wife's and I's wedding day added up into a number, 11-11-17. And the jersey that I'm wearing today is her LA Astra jersey, of which, of course, here's this crazy play. Boom.
Yeah, I love that play so much. Even though it is not good for us. God, it was so cool. Also, I love what Listener does. He literally tells him to go deep. Do you see this on his pump? See that?
Yeah, he's like, go. Yeah.
He tells him to go. And I've never done that ever in my life. I just do this. But that's really cool.
There was a call that we were trying to do, is like whenever there was a lull in the gut was to take shots upwind. And so he's like, there's a lull. Who's going? It's like that's what he's doing in that moment.
God, that play is so cool. That's my favorite thing in Ultimate was when both people bid. And no one gets hurt.
Yeah.
Makes me so happy. Are you
Wow.
39? I've been looking for you to see if you're 39 in this.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
this
yeah,
team.
yeah. I'm 39. And
Okay.
when I go to LA, I take 39 because that's the year that we get married, and so like having this number and having it on this jersey is like really special because Lindsay decided to change her number also to 39, so we'd both be wearing 39 in our pro jerseys. And
Y'all
so
are
like
so cute.
the WL as suspended for the season,
Right.
likely won't play this year. But like she, was elected captain of the Astra team for her first year playing pro, which is
cool.
like really special and super
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
So like I'm really stoked to be able to wear like her jersey right now and rep this. So
I know. I miss her. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Turtle. Just kidding.
Evan,
Oh, and
our
another
dog's
turnover
name-
from our boy.
Our dog's name was Turtle when we adopted her, so some people reference our dog as Turtle, even though her real name is Bailey.
Oh,
Yikes.
Theodore.
Took it to the head.
Good times. But look at him. He's smiling. He's laughing. Good times. Good times. This is one of those crazy sequences where we moved it up so methodically. Chase immediately, like, we're so good. Chase throws a turnover, unfortunately. Y'all immediately huck it, hits off one of your guys' head. Like, it's just, what the is going on in this game?
Yeah, this is a wild point in this game at like just before half.
There was just something weird in the air this entire night. Just the playmaking both
Right.
ways and the wacky deflections, the disc that worked out for both teams.
And you know
That's
what?
Jeff's
That's just a great
second
play by Silverman. Yeah. And he does a great job of like pretending like he's not looking, And that's why Chase thinks it's an open throw. I don't blame him. But he was baiting that the entire way. The entire way. Just a great freaking defensive play, man.
Mazur, the commenters are asking for a 360 to see the full jersey.
It's a pretty jersey.
Looks good.
Sweet, yeah. They did a
good
really
example.
nice job on the logo.
Of not overusing sublimated jerseys, You got the nice stripes here, but it's not the whole thing is a sub with crazy patterns. But you got the nice number that is an ombre. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's really sweet. They did a beautiful job.
Do we go in tied into half? I can't remember.
I don't know.
I mean, we shouldn't, based on the serve, but hey, Evan.
Jeff.
Yes.
Would you say one of the best, if not the best, rule change the AUDL has made so far, in its existence, is changing travel from a turnover to 10 yards?
At throw.
Oh,
the Chase
Elliott.
Cunningham shot.
And another turnover.
It's a good question, Matt. I guess so is my answer. I mean, I don't feel super passionate about it. I think that, it's a fact that like a
DJ.
20 championship weekend out in San Jose just like weren't called correctly and changed the game. I think it impacted both teams. So I think that was kind of the moment that brought about change in that. I mean, honestly, the best rule change is probably starting the clock on the release of the pull as opposed to the
I like
touch of
that
the
too.
disc.
Saves about 20 minutes throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
Or at least it feels like it.
No, it
But
makes a big difference.
I think that the reason that I like that rule so much is it gives the refs not so much pause to call what looks like a travel. Because they don't want to be the reason. Oh my God, the end of this half is insane. I forgot Bobby picks it up, doesn't look, throws a hammer, and is only
Luke, can we go
fingertips
back
away
30
from a great.
seconds? Luke, take
Yeah.
us back 30 seconds here.
Perfect. A great D by LA.
So how
On
many
an upline by
turnovers were
Mick.
there on this point? Like 9 turnovers in this last part of the half?
And that's just an unfortunate.
It's like power position. You guys have 5 guys behind the disc. That's like almost a
doesn't
guaranteed
even
goal
look.
the other way.
You gotta be kidding me!
This game is silly.
Oh my God.
Hit the buzzer!
It really was.
Also, the perfect hammer. And that couldn't have been more perfect.
Thought time was running out on
Oh,
that
it's crazy.
throw.
I think
The hammer would get off.
again, like I think I've told you this before, Evan. I feel like this game,
Elliot's mad.
you like came into your own as a broadcaster too, because like you're like you have iconic call after iconic call, like on point when a thing happens. Like it's great, dude. It's like it's really really good, and like yeah, it's sweet.
Cheers to that. I appreciate
Cheers
it.
to
You know,
that.
I feel like being a broadcaster, and like this may come across as a crazy analogy, but I mean, I think about like my level of production probably similar to you. Like some days you're just locked in, some days you're not feeling your best self, but it's still your job to, you know, be as solid as you can be. So I mean, there's certain games that I think back to, like and you feel it during and afterwards. It feels really good. And I mean, I used to say this when I did minor league baseball, 140 games a year, 3 hours in the radio by myself. Sometimes I felt like I went 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a couple doubles, and sometimes I feel like I struck out 4 times. But you always have a game the next day, and it's just learn from your mistakes. And you know, so I kind of look at it probably similarly as you guys do as players.
You would do games by yourself completely?
Oh yeah, doing baseball was almost all by myself.
Wow, that's so strange to me.
Can't be afraid of silence, and you can talk about anything.
Doesn't get any easier than that right there. Like that is just bad defense and a great throw, and the combination of those two is a 1 second score. I mean, look how far away this mark is.
I think this is back-to-back quarters with 1 pass goals to start for our offense going downwind.
It is. And I think you do it another time. I think Tom Doy catches one to start the 4th, or at least he has 2 more points where he just goes deep.
Easy.
But which is actually in the first half, y'all did not huck it at all.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. If you look back, Evan, and you look at this game and like think about this Aviators team and like who is the like headlining star of this team in terms of like stats and everything.
I mean, it's yourself and Friedman and Doy, I think.
Yep.
Wrong. It's McDougal.
Well,
McDougal,
yes.
He has like 4 blocks.
No, but not in this game. On the season,
But
McDougal
statistically,
is like
yes.
He's like plus 90.
I think he grew into being a headlining guy, but in terms of the headlining guys coming into the season, it was the 3 I mentioned. But no, I love Sean. Sean is awesome. He plays with incredible energy.
He's a great throw.
Just a fun guy to watch. Good celebrations. Plays with a smile on his face.
Yeah, he really is. It's funny. He competes with swagger, but he succeeds with humility, and it's like a special
Oh my gosh,
combination
you're a
that
fortune
allows
cookie.
But it allows him to do well and keep getting better because of those 2 attributes. Like I hate playing
I think
against
part
him.
of it. I mean, he posted this on Facebook the other day. Like when he first made the team, he was like the 27th guy out of 28. Like he just barely made the team, and you know was hanging on and trying to prove himself. And you're right. Now he's one of the top 2-3 players on the team and became an AUDL All-Star, and deservingly so.
And
up.
like what I think is like really cool about that is that happened because of the AUDL, right? Like that progression was the AUDL's like platform. And what I think is super
And
special
his hard work.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But
But I'll take the credit for it too if you'd like.
His known quantity though is like AUDL,
Sure.
right? Not club.
Right.
He was working hard for club, but like that wasn't it. And so it's like pretty special, I think, that that women get to do the same thing with the PUL and the WUL now.
Mhm.
Like I think that's like a really, really important thing that we don't
What a throw.
like acknowledge enough. Right? Because like a guy like McDougal is in a market that doesn't get a lot of that love and then becomes this like known quantity throughout the country, right? And that's because of this platform. And like these platforms being created now for WL, PUL is like really special. So like I think that's like an important thing to acknowledge, like that the support needs to keep happening.
Hey, we think he was out of bounds here. Look at this heel come out at the very back. He does this little step back here. Ready? And ooh. I'm just kidding. But am I? Yeah, there's just no good angles. You know, I guess we're just going to have to call it 50-50. I love that throw so much from Bacon. That makes me so happy. Because everyone throws a hammer there. Everyone throws a hammer, and it looks so like... But when you throw that blade, you look much cooler.
Yeah.
My favorite matchup of this game is Silverman on Kieran, man. The whole game, Silverman is within a step, and, you know, as a beautiful throw goes up, and Silverman's still right there. I think that Kieran does all of his cuts within a very, like, mechanic way. He sets them up because he's so smart. When you talk to Kieran, he is very purposeful in everything he does. But because Silverman has such good hips, the way he plays defense, he can set up himself playing defense the way he wants. He's not reactive. And I just love watching him play so much. But I also love watching Kieran play.
I remember being really excited when Kieran Thomas signed up to play for the Soul because, I mean, really the first big-time club tournament that I ever went to was the 2013 U.S. Open that I broadcasted the first year of the USAU ESPN deal. And, like, you know, so I'm trying to learn everything as much as I can. I remember talking to Tank on the phone for probably half an hour before that tournament, just trying to learn about all the top teams, and that was a fascinating conversation for a bunch of reasons. But, like, watching Kieran, I mean, he just stood out. Like, his speed, his deep cutting, like, not a huge guy, but just always was open downfield making plays.
Always.
So, yeah, it was cool to have him in the league for that 1 year. And who knows, maybe in the future.
Oh, that's the dream. Oh, this is such a weird play, dude. You'll have 5 people, like, and of course we catch it.
Are you kidding me?
It's just incredible.
Luke, let's go back 10 seconds. Maybe 5 more.
Yeah, so
it gets
Jason
blocked
makes
out of his hand.
Right?
Yeah, it's blocked here.
No, it hits the ribs of the guy on the mark.
Four white jerseys right there.
Brutal.
And I'll say something that's really hard to do is take advantage of something like that and not screw it up. You know, when you have numbers and you're going down the field, you feel like you have to push it and do something silly. We do a really good job here playing end zone offense when it feels like you have to take advantage of a broken play. Which I know seems silly, like you just got lucky. Oh, such a good play. That was very, very lucky. That could have been a tie-up play. Great rib block from the mark.
It's a nice catch. That's interesting, like the way he caught and slid and popped up like really quickly to like be ready to throw remind me a lot of Schaffner, the way that she will do that. Like I feel like every time she lays out and catches it, she's ready to throw like immediately. Like that was like
Wow, good
very
point.
reminiscent of that.
Hope you're enjoying this game as much as we are, because the playmaking tonight has
Oh, we are, Evan.
spectacular both ways.
And Evan, we've seen LA.
So Kevin Quinlan, the Montreal Royale, asks in the chat, "What's my all-time favorite AUDL game that I've called?" In terms of regular season games, this is definitely up there. The New York Raleigh game last year that went to double overtime, that
Such a
Mike
good
Denardis,
one.
Brian Jones, and I did, that's up there. And the Seattle Madison game, which I watched in its entirety again recently, as Mazur rips another one.
Travel. Sorry, brother. And to
Luke,
be
can
fair,
we go back 10 seconds and see if
Yeah.
we see a travel?
just take a look. You catch it, you take a step
it's a
forward that you
travel.
shouldn't take,
It's up
and then you.
travel.
All right,
end up
so you
throwing
catch it,
from, like,
right? You
30
pivot, and then you. That's actually not that bad. I wouldn't have personally called it because you were by yourself anyway.
It's a full yard.
Like, yeah, but there's no mark on you. You're not getting any advantage. You're just ripping it.
I mean, gaining a little
In my
extra
opinion.
momentum on the.
I'm a thrower, so I just like to be on the side of caution. I want to throw it as far as I can too.
I was giving myself power position from a swing.
I know. Look, you didn't even. You were just like, yeah, no, you're probably right. You're a good man, Mazur.
I've been mad enough about enough travel calls.
Kirk Gibson might have killed the ref. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, but Kurt didn't travel though.
That's.
Is this gonna work?
Nah, Walsh is the best.
For Austin. And you're like 5 guys over.
That's the Walsh claw, folks.
How many guys over 6'5" do you have on this team? 3?
Oh, I think 4. I think Jason Holloran is 6'5", so I think we might be at 6'5.5".
Jesus,
Is 3.
That's crazy.
But and Chase is 6'4", I think. Oh,
What is
another
that
turnover
choice,
for our
Chase?
boy. Whoa! I actually think that if Josh had made that cut, it would have been fine. They both did one of these at the same time. Like, that means they both take half fault.
Everyone's so tired. I'm the only one downfield, and I'm like, I hate this. This is awful.
Also, this is just incredible throw. Incredible. And what a good catch, Mazur.
Thanks, man.
I don't think he's going to doink it.
It's funny, Bennett, because you say like that's an incredible throw, and it didn't look all that pretty when it was in the air, but it got to the right spot.
It had to be that way. Literally, like, no offense, Mazur, but I think that it probably would have gotten D'd if it was a flat throw, even if it was all the way to the corner of the end zone. That was the only throw that was going to work in that entire situation. Whether it was on purpose, who knows, but it was the perfect throw.
Hey, real quick, going back to the favorite game I've called, I mentioned Seattle Madison.
Yeah, sorry.
You guys were both in the finals awaiting a winner of that game, with a doubt. Were you guys in the stands at Breeze Stevens Field watching that Cascades Radicals game 2016?
I have a story. So we watched the first half. We were doing our stretching and everything, but then we went back to the hotel and we decided to watch the second half, even though we heard it had been blowout. And so we're in our hotel room. There's like 4 of us. And then all of a sudden Seattle starts coming back. And let me tell you, we are yelling at the top of our lungs, like, at every play, because Seattle keeps making every single point. It makes no sense how they're possibly pulling any of this off. We got 3 room complaints at the hotel. We had 3 separate times they came up and said, okay, we're going to kick you out on the next one. So we had to turn the game off and just watch it on our phones separately by ourselves. I would say that was, if I got to call that game, that would easily be my favorite. That was the craziest game I've seen in the ADL to date.
Mazur, where were you?
I think I watched just into the second half and was like, oh, this game is... I was like kind of doing the math that was like, if it's 1 more point, like, they don't have a chance. And like I got to that like early in the second half, and I was like, all right, like, I'm hungry. Lindsay was hungry, so we like went to a bar, got some cheese curds. We're like drinking Spotted Cow, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that game's over yet. And like I checked in, and I was like, you are not going to believe what just happened. Like, it was like It was like 2 or 3 minutes left of the game, and I was like, "This is insane!" I put it on my phone and we watched it in the bar. It was crazy. Ugh.
Yeah.
That team was very social together. I think that might have been part of the key to the 16 success.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say that, because you joined the team in what, June or July?
Yep.
Yeah, I felt so connected with those guys though. Like we hung out like all the time. Like we practiced once a week, and like after every game, we all went out. Like we were out at the bar, like having a great time together. Just like it was so important. Like the social time was huge, and like that's fostered from the leadership, right? I mean, like,
yeah,
I don't think you can say enough good things about Jim Garancer and his impact on Ultimate in Texas. Because of and Ultimate generally, like, and I get an opportunity to do it because he really has done so much, and probably won't ever get enough credit, and he'll be fine with that,
right?
Because like he knows he's making impacts, and he's making like individuals come together, and like, yeah. So
shout out to Big Jim.
Yeah. Jim and a lot of other people we're lucky to have supporting Ultimate the way they are.
I love this throw so much. It does not get caught, but God, I love it so much. He throws that inside flick. Yeah, incredible D by Sean on a guy that's, 7 inches taller than him. And to be fair, a little misread by Josh, which, sorry, Josh, love you. But then an awesome D and an incredible catch. And unfortunately, they never show a replay. They don't show a replay of that catch ever in the game.
Okay, if they don't show a replay, let's go back and watch that again, Luke, because I don't know how he caught that. Let's go back there. Yeah, well, this is good. So we see Sean's
great D. Yeah, great D. I mean, literally.
Also, I've seen the guy that catches this run a sub 60-second 400. He's so fast.
What a freaking catch!
It's Padula.
That doesn't even make sense. And then, but unfortunately, he throws a turnover here.
No, it's
just
Shackner,
right to Walsh Claw, baby.
It's Shackner who like is not a hucking player.
Valuable. Let's a little tease for what's coming. Better catch, that one by Padula or the Eli Friedman grab at the end zone to our right late in this game?
Bar none, Eli Friedman.
I mean,
not even
he dropped
close.
It initially, made it tougher for himself, so that's got to be a factor too, but we'll get there.
It hits him twice. It goes boom, boom, and then all of a sudden he just catches it. It's incredible.
I mean, he's adjusting for the catch before he gets to the ground.
Yes.
Also, what is Bob doing?
It was stall 5, and he didn't see anything that he liked, so he just ripped it. It was very on purpose. Okay. Yeah. It was weird because earlier in this game there was a pick call and the stall dropped down to 0, but in this one it dropped down to just the normal stall. So I don't really understand the rules. Obviously, it looks like, but I was just trying to put some consistency to that.
I mean,
Mazur. Oh no!
If there's a pick, it shouldn't go down to 0.
Agreed. No, I also thought that was true, but earlier in the game it didn't go that way.
Mazur, what happened on that throw? On that decision?
So I take Sean over here, and we start talking, and he reminded me of this conversation not too long ago, because he was like, that changed kind of, I think, our relationship in this moment, because what I saw was me and him playing a 2-man game, and he was so open that he drew a defender off the back of the stack. And if I led him into space, I thought he was going to get lit up from behind. And so I told him after, I was like, I didn't want to put you in danger of just getting totally lit up. You're too important to us. 1 point doesn't matter that much. And then I tried to throw something way more creative, like into a seam where it was closing fast, and like broke my own rule about throwing to like IO spaces, and like terrible choice. But like, we definitely made some strides as teammates. I think in this game, losing more than like any of the games that with like big blowouts on the West Coast.
Wow.
Not a good look. Also, I love this integrity by Kieran on this, because at first Evan and Ian
looks
both
like a
think
foul.
that. Yeah, but when they show the replay, which is 3 minutes from now, Kieran definitely jumps into him. And so Silverman was just like, "Hey, whatever you think is fine," and Kieran's like, "Nah, I don't need that foul." And Mazur's just like, he says, "Oh, I think it's a foul," but in the game, Mazur's like, "No way, no way."
No. I think
They just showed you. Okay,
Yeah, I was
that's
echoing the
fair.
call so that people knew what was going on.
That's fair. That's fair. But yeah, no,
Good
Kieran definitely
humanitarian,
jumped into him.
Wow, that throw.
That's saucy. Buttery. This game literally stays within 2 points for like 28 minutes. It's incredible.
After you guys missed your chance to go up by 5, 10 minutes into the
Okay,
game.
Evan, rub it in one more time. One more time.
I mean,
No, you're not wrong. This is...
wow.
You know, that play is underrated. Yes, it doesn't get caught by anybody, but it like saves a lot of time. Everyone gets into defensive position. I love it. I love when people make plays and gets you hyped up. Also, y'all immediately get this back, I'm pretty sure. Love that throw.
This point has gone on now for 4 minutes.
Woo!
And Thomas
Never mind, that's right.
his own deflection. And then throws it away.
Psych.
Silverman to Mazur. Looking to the end zone again.
And to be
Get
fair,
out of the way, ref.
Have tied the game.
that throw that just happened, Kieran looks off a wide open Kyle on the sideline, which is a part of the chemistry I was talking about, because Kyle and Kieran have literally probably said 7 words to each other before this game. And so he looks him off and tries to throw to a Rory that is just completely poached. And so those are the kind of the troubles that you can see. Also, I love this.
They're so tired.
Kyle's not having it at all. Look how he walks away. Ooh, he is not happy.
But his teammates.
You see how he kind of jumps into him?
Another look at one of the first turnovers of this point.
I don't see
No?
that, but I'll take your word
Really?
for it. No.
No, I mean, that's all I was trying to like see why he would have said integrity rule. So maybe I'm just biased towards his own. Believe me, I would have preferred it to be a foul.
I mean, I could see him being like, well, I still should have had it, and I didn't make the play, so I'm not going to call a foul.
You know what? That's Kieran. So well said. Another bad throw. But
No way. How
So
many
stupid.
second effort catches?
why does Ted start yelling at the ref? He starts berating him. You see?
So, like,
And,
how many times here in this third quarter have we just been flabbergasted by what we've seen? Like, that's why this game was so great. And then, obviously, the end lives up to it, too.
Right.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Just watch
Every
Ted.
Guys,
moment, even like what's he yelling at him for?
For what? Nothing happened with him involved.
Couple things from the chat. Kyle Henke says he did not like Sean laying down on him, number one.
Yeah, that makes...
Kevin
that
Quinlan
makes me-
Kevin Quinlan with a great question. Between Chris Mazur and Matt Bennett, who plays better lockdown defense?
Ooh. Yeah, it depends. In his prime, he's probably better. But in
Mazur
this
looks
game,
insulted
probably
by the
me.
question.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been put into this question before with anyone else because I've never been the winner. So like,
Right?
this is more insulting for Matt.
Right. Who's the best linebacker, Deshaun Watson or Tom Brady? Like,
Oh man! Hey, shout out!
It's hard to
KC,
say.
man.
Yeah.
Those Buffalo Hunter days and Connecticut Constitution days back in year one, huh? Those were.
I'm glad you
those were
brought up the
days.
Constitution, because I always want 2012 stories when I talk to guys like you. Chatted with Matt Smith on Instagram last night, Rhode Island Rampage.
Oh, wow.
Do you still have your Constitution jersey?
Yeah, I've got both the light and the dark. They're at my mother's house in Connecticut. Like, do not wear them ever. I found another replica of my jersey because year one we used to sign a bunch of jerseys and do as like giveaways at games. And I found my replica jersey signed on some like sports memorabilia website one time for like way more money than it should have been. And it was just like, this is bizarre.
I mean, Chris, if you got these Constitution jerseys that need a torso, I got a torso right here that I could. I mean, if they're just sitting around your mother's house and you want to,
hey, you know what's great about
I'd be
those
honored.
is that there wasn't a restriction on the type of jersey, and I had long sleeve. Like my playing jerseys were long sleeves. It was
Wait, there's
awesome.
no restriction in the AUDL. Half the Dallas team wears long sleeves.
Do they really?
I'm pretty
I didn't know
sure.
that.
Yeah. I mean, have you met Dalton Smith? The kid thinks the sun is like actual death.
I didn't think you could get a playing jersey that was actually long sleeves. You can wear long sleeves under, but I didn't think.
Yeah, maybe I could be wrong.
let's
Oh, I
dial
didn't realize
back
it was
in.
tied.
This is a great
Oh,
crazy
this is an
finish to
incredible
this third
play.
quarter here.
This is the first pass I've maybe ever thrown to Beatty.
Oh, well, can you call it a pass if it's not completed? See what I did there?
I think it's the first time I've ever thrown a pass, or like we might have thrown a dump to each other earlier in this game, but like I remember thinking like this was a very unfamiliar moment for me before and after it happened, because we started to talk about it. We were like coming from two different worlds completely. We're like wasn't even close.
Yeah, I mean, this play, I was on the other sideline for this one, and I like literally jumped out of my crutches. Because it's an incredible play. It's more like veteran. Like you can tell, like Jared Wolf's one of the few players on our team that would have made this play. Everyone else would have stayed off. Chris, you kind of shoot it from your hip. You kind of like, because you're upwind, you kind of, rocket it, and it's still a really good throw. It's right at him. And if he had taken that step forward to go get it, he would have probably gotten mauled. Like he might have been out for like 4 months because Jared Wolf's built like a freight train. So yes, it might have cost y'all a point, but I'm kind of glad Beatty didn't take that step forward because that would have been tragic.
Yeah. I think we were also like, I think the only reason I'm picking up here is because we were expecting them to come with like a junky defense and like a double team.
Yeah. I mean, we are tall. I don't know why we wouldn't have gone double team and junkie, to be fair.
Right? Like, that's what I thought y'all were going to do. And I think that's why we set up with the play that we did. And then it was like, oh, it's just like straight up. It's just like regular matchup here. Like, what is happening? With
We
like maybe an
practiced
extra
double
over the
team.
top?
And we were horrible. We were so bad at them. So we gave up. We stopped doing them. You can't blame yourself for throwing that throw. He's wide open.
Yeah.
But that was
Oh,
like
it still hurts,
technically
though.
the game.
So it's okay, Luke. Let's go back 30 seconds. They didn't throw a double team, but you do have Cunningham and Pollock. Pretty. That's Ethan right there, 19, right?
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
really makes no sense. Why not double team at that point?
But I mean, going straight up marks, you don't have a downfield look.
Yeah, but where is
Jared
Pollock
Wolf.
going? He follows him all the way up the field.
That's fair.
I mean, in reality, if you're going to put your two tallest players in the handler space, they should both stay in the handler space and kind of pass them off into the middles of the zone. But instead, Ethan follows him all the way out. But, I mean, if he doesn't, then Chris doesn't throw that. So
I'm
Chris,
actually
you
looking
can
at
see
this
your
a
body
little bit
language.
differently. Yeah. Yeah, what is happening? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at this play again and realizing that it actually should be probably heralded a little bit more than it is for what defensive looks work at the end of a quarter in the AUDL. It's such a unique thing, right? You've got a bunch of tall guys making long downfield passes difficult and throwing kind of flat, like net style marks where they're like really arcing out and they're not like putting on a mark as much as just stealing angles. And then the next
Right.
wave guys are going to play super aggressive and take chances because if the next guy gets it, like they're going to huck it no matter what. So like getting there late and putting on a mark isn't as valuable as taking a chance and maybe getting one. And that's like, I haven't like thought about it that detailed before now that I've watched it a bunch, and like makes a lot of sense and like really smart strategy out of Austin, whether it was intentional or not. It's just like really smart.
Man, that quarter was crazy.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
For every break, there wasn't exactly another break.
There's so many plays in this game that you could be like, oh, if that play went different, the result would be different. But it's hard to pinpoint just one because there's 20 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned about watching games is that, like, I always look at a game that I'm playing in or my team, and I'm like, man, if we just didn't make all these mistakes, we would have won this game for sure. But then when I watch all the mistakes the opponent makes, I'm like, well, we earned those. Like, we caused those mistakes. And so I've learned to realize that, like, I have no idea who would have won what game based on anything because it's all so biased that it makes no sense.
I think two things get underlooked, Evan, and maybe you'll find moments when these will apply later on. But strategic defensive intensity over the course of a game, as opposed to just like, here's the look we're going to use all the time. Something that I think Madison uses intentionally and why their defense has been good over the years. But doesn't get like mentioned enough, and that like a ramping up of intensity, using softer looks that like get people out of pull plays, make for offenses uncomfortable, and then go like super tight for like a quarter or two that like looks totally different. Marks are like right on top of people, like laying out on every pass, even if you're not going to get it. Like that kind of an idea and like a progression and a strategy around it doesn't really get acknowledged enough. And when it works so well. And then I'm going to completely forget what the other thing was. Oh, if a team's defense doesn't score quickly when they get turns with the thought that they want to wear down an offense and force an offense to be on the field a long time, that can be like really detrimental in the fourth quarter. Done that for fourth quarter comes around and it's like you're going to get like 2, maybe 3 breaks in the fourth as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see ya. Bye, Max.
It's funny, in this point, Evan had started saying, like, Mazur's had some really good points in his career. Sometimes he has to take over for an offense. And then you come into this point and you literally every other all the way up the field. Evan is literally like, he's a visionary. He knows exactly what's coming every single point. It's insane.
And we won't mention all the times I get it wrong, but occasionally I get it right.
That's true. We expect you to get it wrong, so it's okay to get it wrong. You're like a weatherman.
I have better percentage than they do. I like to think.
Matt, were you going to play offense this year for the Soul?
I was. Yeah, well, actually, okay, not to seem like a diva, but I was like, I want to play the offense. If I'm not, I'm probably not going to play. And they were like, okay, just play offense. But we had a totally different makeup of a team anyway. I mean, not a single person like over 31 was going to play except for maybe Walsh. Ethan it was not going to play. DJ, Jared, Kieran, Max, all of them were finally done. So we were going to go much younger. And then we lost Chase, and then we lost Kyle. So it was a very – oh, and Josh wasn't going to play this year. Pretty much anyone that played double wide decided that they were exhausted. But I was pumped. I was so pumped.
This is like kind of a weird moment that just happened here. It's like a
It really was.
no-pull.
We were
Like,
offsides,
didn't
so we
get-
had to take it from reverse.
So like didn't get on the line in time? Was it like a
Exactly.
wow?
It's so funny that this game is during this broadcast, Evan talks about like this could be a year that New York Empire could be decent. Like it's hard to remember a time where they weren't stacked as heck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they always underachieved.
Ouch.
You know, I mean, I like projected that they were going to beat Toronto so many times, and they didn't beat Toronto. And the folks in
You were
Toronto
tired
have let
of
me
it.
hear about that over and over again. So, you know, you get burned by a team that many times, you're like, okay, F this. I just not picking them again. And frankly, I picked Austin to beat Dallas a couple times. I'm like, okay, it's their time. Didn't happen. So, I'm never picking Austin again to beat Dallas. And then they win that windy game in overtime.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get rewarded for being the team that has nothing to lose, and when it's 35-mile-an-hour wind, that's the time you're going to be rewarded. Every single time it got to stall 4, we just ripped it as far as we could, and that's pretty much why we won.
Quick
You know what?
updates
I'm
from
gonna
the
go on a
chat.
limb. I'm gonna go on a limb
Mazur,
for
just to
one
let
thing
you know.
before we go to the chat.
Go ahead.
Just that, like, I don't think LA makes the playoffs or like makes the Final Four this season if we don't lose this game and the next game in Dallas. I think it required the team to make necessary like adjustments midseason to like get the most out of the personnel. Like McDougal probably doesn't score 70 goals or whatever he scores because he only plays defense.
70.
To lose these games. All right.
Notes from the chat. CJ Olet wants Mazur to know that he's wearing his Constitution shorts right now. Matt Bennett, Pavliana says you are a diva. Yeah, you'll dispute that.
Fair.
Really opens up the arsenal of throws. You can have higher release points.
Pavel also chimes in, quote, losing is never necessary. Just ask MJ.
Orientation, and those are going to travel.
I mean,
They're that much harder for defenders.
Hey Chris,
Defend on the break.
I was watching The Last Dance and how they talked about, you know, how MJ is a jerk during practice, or, you know, kind of an a-hole, as they called him. But because he won, it wasn't a big deal, or, you know, it became part of this thing that he was just about. And so I was trying to think of, you know, who the MJ is of Frisbee, which, you know, let's take that lightly because MJ is an incredible freak athlete and we play Frisbee and we love this sport, but MJ is nuts. But I was thinking about, you know, Kurt Gibson is kind of my my MJ of Frisbee, because I'm lucky enough to have gotten to play with him, and he's a teammate that demands perfection from every single person that is on the field anytime he's on the field or during practice or pretty much ever if you're on his team. And then while, you know, sometimes I'm like, ooh, Kurt, you're coming out a little strong. Then I realize he wins more championships than I'll ever even pretend to win. And so that's why I feel like maybe he is the equivalent. While Bo might have more championships, I think Kurt might be closer to the MJ of our sport. What do you think?
I actually, I was thinking about this after we talked about this previously. I'm going to disagree. I think it is actually Bo. and
What?
and that's because I think MJ was a one-dimensional scorer when it came to offense, and could play pretty one-dimensional defense, where he was like really good at like taking the ball away, like getting steals. And I think that more aligns one-dimensional offensive and defensive game that you get out of Bo. And I think from a championship perspective, he won all the championships with one team, right?
Good point.
No, he didn't. He won with Pony. Damn it! Why did he have?
Oh,
to
I
go
was
with
thinking
Pony?
MJ.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
MJ did, and Bo won most of them with Revolver, whereas like Kurt won
But if
all of his
Bo had,
championships
like-
with different.
If MJ had won with the
I mean-
Wizards, that'd be like Bo winning with Pony.
Yeah.
that may be true, but I mean, in the AUDL, Bo has 5 championships with 4 different teams.
Yeah. But I mean, we can't really give Kurt credit for staying with teams as he wins championships either. So
No. I'm not sure either analogy is perfect.
Exactly. I'll take that. You know what's crazy is this is when I thought the game was over. Right here. We played awesome shutdown defense. We got a turnover. It's midfield. And let me tell you, this happened 50 times over the season. We called a timeout. We put the offense on, who I trust with my life. I love them to death. But for some reason, out of a timeout, every single time, they would run the same play. A zipper. 4 and the 5 out of the back of the stack come under. The 3 goes deep. And without even looking, we promise to throw it. And you're going to see right here what's about to happen when we promise to throw it no matter what happens. It was a turnover 95% of the time. I don't know why we were so committed to it. You can tell I'm not bitter.
Now, Matt, if I knew that about your offense, I would not have taken you guys to win 10 games this season, because that's just terrible.
I know. I don't know what. I couldn't tell you why that was our plan out of a timeout, but every single time. I hate that it's going to be so true, because I'm almost positive that's exactly what happens here. Mazur, how do you feel about the one glove look? I'm not a fan.
I'm gonna try to ignore it because it's just horrible.
Yeah. All right, come
So
on. Stall
bad.
4 huck. Give me a stall 3 huck. Yes!
It was
Should've
covered.
had it.
Like, it wasn't even like it was like the play worked.
But it was the play call, Mazur. I think we've learned our lesson, but it was a long year in 2018. It's a great...
Wow.
Oh, poor Theodore.
Oh, Zach.
But don't worry, he's smiling.
Oh, Mingo.
It could be 21-19 Los Angeles at this point.
It really could be. On just Theodore catches.
On just Theodore catches.
You make it sound like he's the only one who's made a mistake this game.
He's literally,
Yeah,
I
right.
think, the
Oh
only
my God, we
one.
get it
Oh,
right
no.
That's third ball.
You know what that is? Good field position game. A Billy O'Brien special. He loves to huck it. Doesn't matter because we get the turn down there.
Billy O'Brien. Wow. What a call.
Well,
out.
sorry, he's shown me the ways. Oh, another Weaver. He really has a great game.
Yeah, and what's
So
amazing
I-
is that he's the second best ultimate player in his family. His sister Caitlin is like better than him already and gonna be than she already is, which is like just awesome. She's up right now, top 5 for the Callahan nominees in the college women's game, and that's pretty
Wow.
sweet. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Evan?
Well, there's a lot of fire going on in the chat right now. We don't need to get into all of it about, MJ
Oh, no.
and Kurt and Bo and whatever.
Sorry, y'all.
Josh Klein, if you heard of him, asked
Oh my
Matt
God, I
who
love
demanded
Josh.
more. Who demanded more, Dylan or Kurt?
I actually have a good answer for that. I think Kurt demands more. Dylan demands a lot of himself. I think he really makes sure that before he ridicules others, he makes sure he's playing well. But then if he is having, if he's really in his zone and you don't play well, of course he'll make sure you know how he feels. But Dylan does a good job of staying within himself first, making sure he's doing what Dylan is supposed to do, at least in my opinion. Kurt, on the other hand, he knows who Kurt is, so he demands that much of everyone all the time.
I think Dylan demands more out of teammates.
Oh wait, Chase turnover.
Oh.
Sorry.
So you're disagreeing with Bennett here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Dylan is more demanding of his teammates. I think Dylan demands a lot out of his teammates and continues to trust his teammates even when they make mistakes.
That's a good point. I agree with that as well. Yay, tall.
Just so much height on your team. We had no answer for you.
So much height, and we still squandered it.
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. So on this foul, look, they show a replay later. Mathis jumps out like diagonally, and the guy that throws it perfectly, like as much as he wants it to, and then slaps the heck out of Mathis's face. But he's like, well, no, I got hit on the follow through, so it's a foul. But those kind of fouls are so weird to me because I just don't know. If I'm throwing it, I'm probably like, no, yeah, I hit you and it hurt, so foul. But if I'm on defense, I'm like, you let go of it. It had nothing to do with the throw.
Guys, last thing on this, and then we'll focus on the last 5 minutes of this game. Who's the Scottie Pippen of Ultimate?
Cassidy Rasmussen.
Oh, I like that so much. It's crazy.
I mean, I was thinking
I'm gonna,
maybe Chris Kocher, but it's probably Cassidy. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Kocher only has one title.
And he's more offensive, and he scores a lot, and Pippen's a facilitator. And Rasmussen throws scores on scores. So, yeah, I'm a big Rasmussen fan. Look at our boy Jared Wolf cramping.
Who was like the second most? So how do we qualify Scottie Pippen? He's like the second most important player on like one of the most dominant teams of all time. So like, wow.
Yeah, kind of unsung, but really appreciated, by his teammates and people that really understand the game. I think Cassidy was a really good call. Because Cassidy has had his moments where he's been, the guy. With Scotty the year MJ first retired, and Scotty was great that year.
He was amazing that year. But then he also quit on the team.
What about Gwen Ambler? How about that?
Ooh. But Ambler's so good.
I know. So is Scottie Pippen.
Fair point. Oh, no. Do we get another turnover here? Don't do it. Okay, good. I think we score this point.
Dare I ask who's the Dennis Rodman of Ultimate?
There's not enough weirdness in the whole sport to get a Dennis Rodman.
Oh, God. That's crazy.
Okay. We got a 1-goal game here with about, and now it's a 2-goal game with about 4 minutes to go.
And that was a really weird point. Like the people that were on the field, you had Bobby Lewis, Kyle Hinkey, Josh, Chase, Ethan. And so right there you have 3, 6, 5 guys. I don't know what hodgepodge, like how that really came to be, but we really were just doing whatever it took to put enough throwers on the field. Oh, I was there. I saw myself in crutches. Hi, Matt. Oh, hey, a Bjorn sighting.
Bjorn! Oh, there's the heart and soul of the city.
No words have ever been more true.
Think about all the other big men that he's going to be able to match up against.
Matt, you
Yeah, you
feel
can
like
tell
you
that
guys
the
got
win-
this up 2 with 4 minutes to go?
I've never been less sure of anything if the Soul is up 2 going into 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. Also, hey, this is another one where I think Tim Beatty kind of takes the call and doesn't do any introspective thinking. Tim, love you, Bubby. But at the same time, he just goes like, no, since he called it.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. He's got to think a little bit on some of these calls and not just take the call. Like,
what a throw.
That's a great throw by Doi.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even open. There was a guy like in the perfect spot to make that kind of angled play, and he just throws it right around him, but still in bounds with about 4 yards left. That's just a beauty.
Also, talk about a dude who can do anything on the field. Like, Listener is a powerhouse. That guy, you can ask him to play any position, and he's going to do it well. It's crazy.
And he's done it
he
in the
just makes
4 or 5
plays.
years of the Aviators.
He's so like undersung as a player. Can take over a game for sure. He can shoot you out of a game too because he gets a little overconfident. But like he's a heck of a player, just like top to bottom.
He's very broad.
Yeah, dude, he works out a ton.
Cunningham and Loscorn anchoring in the handler set. Natenberg was bolting deep. Walsh comes underneath.
I'm like
You also have
invested,
so
like I've
many
never seen
lefty
this game.
Richardson.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
right.
So do
Like,
y'all. You have Theodore. You have that other guy that threw. Oh, no. Oh, no.
No, I mean like actual like key throwers for your team, like
Good boy.
Purcell, Chase,
Purcell.
Loscorn, right?
Mitch,
All three
usually.
of them. Mitch, right?
Yeah.
But like those are guys that you rely on making throws, and that's so
Very
valuable
good
to
point.
have.
This
Guys
is the one where he called the timeout.
He called the timeout. We're off to the races. Like so valuable and so I think probably undervalued is having like a lefty power thrower in your team because like no matter the win situation, you're going to be able to get out of tough spots, right?
Right. Or they have to go backhands on you, and now 4 of your other players have the throw they actually like upwind.
Yeah, totally. And now we're going to see what like one of the coolest catches coming up, hopefully.
We're going. Yeah. This is it. This is the one. You know what's funny is I'd never met Eli before this game. I just knew he was one of the first Oregon non-snubs of Callahan because there was like 3 years in a row where they probably should have won it, and people kept getting bitter because they play a totally different style of Frisbee. But Eli was kind of the antithesis of that. You know, he was actually the patient handler / cutter that plays a refined style of Frisbee, and he finally won the Callahan. And I was like, oh, a Callahan winner, but he's so short. How could he be that good? I'm like, oh, shoot. He's good.
Give him a chance to use his size as an advantage.
Yeah, man. He is also just like a gem of a human too. Just like so sweet, genuine, like thoughtful. Yeah, he's great. If you ever get an opportunity to like hang out with him a little more extended, like take up the opportunity. It's worth it. He's a great dude.
I met
Hey,
Eli for the
text me,
first
bro.
time in Dubai in 2015 at Beach Worlds, and I probably met him and talked to him either the day of or the day before that controversial play in like USA Canada semifinal, where he kind of like got a hand block, but it was called a foul and didn't work out on. I think it was
This
Universe
play is
Point
so cool.
for USA.
What a catch.
But it was made by Tyler Bacon. Great awareness for where he was on the field.
Purcell's doing a really good job shadowing.
Purcell is just hip checking him every single time he has the Frisbee.
Doi, chased by Elliott Moore. Friedman.
I noticed that LA does a really good job of swinging it off the sideline at 2 every single time. I mean, y'all are so ambivalent about that. Good D.
Wow, Elliot Moore. He's one of the teenagers, right?
He is, yeah,
Yeah.
he is indeed. I think he's even younger. I think he's almost 18 in this game.
I could have come back to the disc and attacked it earlier than I did.
My favorite thing is when someone like does like, oh, that's my bad. But like we just watched the play. The throw was short. Like it was a D because the throw was short. Don't pretend like you could have gone through the defender and caught it.
With a one-goal game,
Oh, this is a horrible. Ugh.
It's a
Yeah, that
bad
decision.
choice, right?
Say again?
With a one-goal game and a minute and 45 left, you'd think they were actually trying to score.
Los Angeles somehow comes back and wins this thing.
That's a great throw.
Aviators have not
This is a crazy throw.
Incredible.
through the contact,
So incredible.
and it was
Oh!
Friedman on the second effort.
This play between the throw and the catch, none of it makes any sense.
Yeah. The throw is absurd. And he's just like so calm when he makes this play. Like nothing
Right? He
weird
gets up, he
happened
was
at
like-
all. Like he's like nothing happened.
Probably because he's mad that he doinked it in the first place.
As Jared Wolf was in
You
front
know,
of him and
not in a bad
Ryan
way,
was
but
up
like-
behind
Right, like
him.
here's an easy like, oh
Doink,
yeah, it's just
doink.
right there. Dunk doink.
It's a little bit of a doink at first, but the presence of mind to
Yeah.
stay with
I love
it,
that Ian doesn't even
the
notice how
method of
absurd the
disc
play is.
traveling
It's just
upwind,
like,
so after it goes
oh
off
my
his
god,
hand,
how?
It literally just lands in his hand.
rather than
It's like
going
happened to
straight
be where his hand is.
Wow,
Oh, that's
this
just
is crazy.
nuts.
So like, what? 22 all, a minute left. Not gonna lie,
And this is the
we're
last
going
point.
downwind. I think we're winning.
You
the
thought it
game.
was over.
We're pulling, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, we're gonna win this game.
This is the
And,
pull,
like, came
dude.
out of my
What a
hand,
freaking pull.
Pull hands and bounds, and I'm like, let's go. We got this.
I honestly, we
Like, how many
mess around
how
for
many clean holds have
45.
there been?
Welcome back, coach.
Not many.
We have had buzzer beaters
This is a great throw.
in the second quarter and the third quarter tonight. Both from the soul.
Man,
called a tease right there.
To win the game.
truly.
This is Richard
The only
Jefferson,
problem is that there's 4 guys playing lockdown defense. There's 2 guys playing like, well, maybe 1 guy who's playing like free safety defense, and then there's a couple like just scatterbrain, like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of switching, I'm kind of not switching, and they're like, that's the
Full
problem.
panic.
And the person who's in switch mode forgets the force, and he's the one guarding Loscorn. If he holds the force here, so Loscorn has to throw a forehand, this never happens.
It's
and it is caught. Austin.
Loscorn
no
does
time
not
left,
throw that as a
wins the
flick.
game.
Like there's just
No,
no way.
not even a little
the
bit.
force is held. Like he can't get it to the end zone upwind with a flick.
Take it by 1 at the buzzer.
That was a perfect
Crazy.
throw, man.
Mazur,
It's
what do you
also, like,
remember
it's
about
totally
being in the
fair.
end zone here?
Just pure sadness. Like, oh, it's coming. It's like, it's going upwind. I'm in perfect box out position. I thought I had tracked Henke, and all game long, going upwind, it's bounced a little bit up. And for whatever reason, on this huck, it like kind of sinks a little bit. And Henke's the only one who reads it. I mean, Kyle, like, what a freaking read out of this kid. Like, just undercuts the play, and it's like, I got one chance. And like, it was perfect. And here, Jeff and I are looking like idiots, jumping up behind it like we have any chance. We're like 2 yards behind the play.
To be fair,
Hey, Luke, can we
you guys.
go
Okay,
back
go
to
ahead.
the start of the point with 1 minute to go in the fourth quarter? Let's just watch. Okay, let's see the whole final point again. Starting with the spectacular pull.
Incredible pull. And y'all play
Thank you.
really good defense. Like, for a minute left, a lot of people do this stupid thing where they play prevent. Like, well, there's a minute left and we have to make sure they don't score. Almost always the wrong decision. Y'all play full
Yeah,
hard
we're playing
man.
mostly lockdown. Position pretty good. That's the first time that. I'm sorry, Nate. I'm gonna pick on you, dude. Nate gets broken once. He's overcommitted on the mark. He's trying to get a hand block every time his guy gets the disc, and that's just not going to happen. with Loscorn.
Austin taking its time down to 22 seconds.
Look at
now.
Chase playing so patient. So proud of you, baby.
Right, there's another switch downfield. People are running into each other. Kyle ran deep to start this point, by the way. I remember guarding him, and he stayed deep the entire time. I mean,
The
we've
whole
been
point.
off the
like
The
screen.
whole point.
With
We've been
9 seconds left, there was a dump.
With 3 seconds left to the end zone.
It's not y'all's fault. You see, you and Silverman both have a very clear look in front of you. You're like, I can see who has a chance at catching this. So that's why you think you can back up and then be the person that hits it. He flanks the heck out of you guys. It's honestly
Yeah, he does.
incredible, and there's just no way you could have seen it coming. He comes from so far away.
Yeah, he really
And
does.
high points
it's
it.
insane. Yeah. High points it while horizontal, which is just absurd.
Yeah,
All right. I don't even
I was
watch that.
running
That-
on my ankle. I was literally, one of my crutches was in the air, and I was just like, yes, yes. I felt that about an hour and a half later.
Prevent defense.
Henky in the chat says I had no idea what I was doing.
Hanky in the chat. Oh, that's horrible.
I don't believe you, Kyle. Also, how many times have you watched this game? Be honest.
Me?
No, Kyle.
0. Oh, Kyle,
Hanky.
put it in the comments.
Hanky gets into bed, watches the buzzer beater, goes to sleep happy every night.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Whatever it takes to be happy in these times. Kyle, I support you.
Oh, God. Oh, so brutal. Crazy. Wow. Well, that was fun to relive.
That was fun. Well, my team won, but that was fun.
Hey, it
So,
was a turning
let's-
point
let's-
for the Aviators.
Let's do the epilogue. Matt, do you go to the doctor the next day?
No, so I actually I went and slept at a friend's house in Austin because I couldn't move. And then I convinced someone to drive me back to Austin and then drive themselves, like 2 people in my car. It was like a whole nightmare. I
Back
didn't
to
sleep the whole
Houston, you
night
mean?
because, yeah, back to Houston. I didn't sleep the whole night. I was in so much pain. And then I went to the doctor on Monday or Tuesday, and he was just like, yeah, you're snapped. Like, all 3 ligaments are so messed up. We'll put you in a boot for a month and a half. And that's when I thought my season was over. I was so lucky to be able to come back and play the last 4 games of the season and get to even play the playoffs against Raleigh. But it was, I have never felt pain like that, like in my entire life. I like pulled my hamstring once. I guess I thought that was so weird of an injury, but yeah, that I didn't even care. Like, that win was so cool. And it felt so cool to be a part of the very first cross divisional game for the South Division well, not South Division because Dallas played Madison the year before, but for the Soul and at home with one of the biggest crowds ever and with a game winner. It was so cool. I wasn't even that mad.
What was it like celebrating that? I mean, you were hurt, but I mean, like, this 19-year-old kid made this game-winning play in the first game of, Tank playing in the league, Kieran playing in the league, Max Cook playing in the league, Jared's return. Like, I mean, there was a lot going on that night for the Soul, and it was about as exciting as it could be down the stretch.
Yeah, something I thought was cool was actually, I think one of them had like pulled themselves out of the game, one of the older guys, and said like, hey, put Hinky in. He's ready to make a play. Like, let's let him be part of this. And I always know Max Cook was so good about that. He was so good about putting someone in the game that was more suited for what was going on. And then when he made the play, I can't even tell, like, no offense to our team, but not one person was expecting us to win that game after we kind of blew it. And then it's hard when you were winning the whole time and you kind of give it away. You think like, well, when are we really going to blow this? But then when you see one of your young guns make that play, it kind of comes out to like when there's a no-hitter on the line, you put a pinch hitter in of your youngest player because he doesn't really feel that moment. I feel like that's kind of the equivalent of what happened there. And then all of a sudden, Kyle became Kyle. Kyle Hinky really blew up just weeks after that with so many different plays. I'm happy for him, but it was a crazy, crazy night.
Yeah, and now he's like 21, 22 years old. So, He's an old
Right?
man.
Oh, God, he's really old.
Chris, was there a locker room that the Aviators kind of went into together after that game, or what did someone say to the team after that? Because obviously you guys had to regroup. You played Dallas the next day, that afternoon.
Yeah, we had to get. We were in the locker room for sure. I know that there were definitely some long faces, some minor frustrations, some tactical chats, and people trying to like figure out what the heck just happened, and some like good acknowledgement of like the moment. I think there were quite a few times throughout that season that I think the Aviators were able to self-reflect like how special it was to be on that team and to play in the games that we played in and to have a successful season. And that was really only possible because we faced adversity early and then we didn't take stuff for granted throughout the season, right? Like we knew we were vulnerable if we made the wrong mistakes. And the team, only spent so much time together. So like we had to build our chemistry pretty quickly. So I think that trip was pretty important just for like the chemistry building of the team, right? I can't tell you what we said in the locker room after that game. I was probably personally still stewing pretty hard. But I imagine that the sentiment was definitely like, great, we learned, now we move on. Tomorrow's a very important game. Conditions are going to be similar. Team's going to be just as hard. Take care of your bodies, eat right, and get ready for another one. Those are the moments that you kind of relish the challenge, and either you step up and enjoy them, or you like look back with regret. And I think this team mostly stepped up to enjoy them.
Who were the most important voices in setting the tone, energy-wise, emotionally, for that next day at Dallas? You guys began the game with back-to-back breaks, jumped in front 2-0 immediately.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, Dugan was a huge voice for us in his way of like, he's so experienced, right? Like, Matt, I don't know how much you know about Steve Dugan, but he's just a legend in the game.
Yeah.
Out of Santa Barbara, and one of those. I don't know if he's a founding Condors member, but one of the greats from the Condors back in the day, and
USA World Games gold medalist.
Yeah, World Games gold medalist. Won when it was 6-on-6, and the team was like a very short roster, right, where you basically play almost every single point of every game. So I had really great stories about all of like where he came from and how he played, but he was very steady with the not going overly emotional, not going on roller coasters where things were really good or really bad. It was like, doesn't matter what just happened. Like, was the process right? Are we still moving forward? Are we getting better as a group? And like that steadiness helped a lot. And it didn't get us like overly hyped for anything. Sure, I was like probably bouncing around and talking crap and like all over the place the next day, like, excited to be back in Dallas and to play people and everything. Silverman, I remember, got hurt pretty bad in that game.
He punctured his lung.
Yeah, like crazy. And I think, it
played the
was
next
kind
week.
of a weird.
He's crazy.
I don't know if he played the next week. I think he probably he played like the next available game that he was gonna play, but I think it was like still a 3-week window because he didn't leave Dallas for like a week and a half.
You're right.
He stayed in Dallas and like didn't fly. Yeah, so like, we connected him with guys in Dallas, and so but he wasn't scheduled to play another game for a few weeks.
He played 3 weeks later in actually a game that I saw, the 33-31 game against San Jose that we did out in LA. That was an offensive.
Oh my god,
that was a wild game too.
Game. That was the
we'll
game
that
when I
game
figured
at some
out
point.
how fast Sean was. Oh my god, that game was silly. You should definitely have Sean for that game because like
we will.
Scores so it's absurd.
You had 9 assists in that game, by the way, plus 12. No big deal.
Cool. I was about to say how many turnovers. That would have looked real stupid.
Mazur,
the strategy was throw it far.
So
my man,
I've talked about this before. I talked about it with Mike Denardis and Brian Jones a little bit. And I've talked about it with Tim DeBile, like, who relives the Seattle Madison game on a regular basis. I mean, Matt Bennett, you guys have had great wins. You guys have had excruciating losses. And while it's not easy to rewatch the losses, I'm always impressed with like how rational you can be rewatching it. Like, not to say you're not emotional about it too, but I mean, you can be really reasonable and okay, this is what went wrong, this is what went wrong, give the other team credit and kind of appreciate the type of game that it was. As a broadcaster, when I'm calling a game, I am, pretty tunnel vision on just doing the job and like not invested in the result. But like if I'm involved in a game that's a heartbreaker, either as a player or as a fan, like I would not want to be involved in Thursday Night Rewind presented by Deschutes talking about the game. How do you kind of separate the emotions and the rational education that goes into learning from those types of tough moments?
Well, I have a couple of answers. One snarky, one serious.
Chris Mazur, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a loss against Toronto, so I can be calm and rational. That's probably the big one. No, I'm a student of the game still. Like I love learning about the game and being part of like the local community in LA now and getting to like teach and see the youth come up and play. And like, getting to play with a guy like Danny Landisman in Winter League and on the beach in Los Angeles before he's of age to be able to play on the Aviators and to see how he's progressed and to like learn from his mother who are also in the ultimate community and playing, right? And then see how that translates to him and how well he's doing, how like sweet of a kid he is, and then how he's turning into a superstar on the field, right? Like that's what gets me excited and keeps me calm about watching a loss. It's because like in the bigger picture, like as long as the sport's still going and like people are learning and getting better, like that's what matters. Like it's refreshing and I can like just make fun of myself for my own errors because like I've seen myself make too many of them.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Who does Landisman remind you of? You're a student of the game. You've watched a lot of Ultimate. Anybody immediately come to mind? Don't think about it too hard. We can move on.
Probably Claire Desmond.
Oh, I like that.
That's high praise.
That is high praise.
I mean, Claire Desmond's one of the best female Ultimate players in the world. You think Danny Landisman has that ceiling?
He said he said, Evan.
That's
absolutely.
High praise.
Absolutely. I think if you look at the style of their games and how Claire played when she was younger and the roles she played on teams, very similar. And, she only took a few chances, but when she took them, they were the right choices and they did well. And she was surrounded by really strong players throughout her career that helped her get better. And she just like athletically will go out and win her matchup with just humility. Like if you spent time talking to Claire, she's so humble. And I think that's what makes her so great. And so I think Danny possesses a lot of those qualities and if he continues along that path, right, we only have so many years of information about him, he could be as good as Claire is today. Yeah.
Fair enough. Good information about a young guy from LA. Matt, we've had a couple questions in the chat about rookies on the Soul that you're excited about for 2020 and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, this year, rookie for Soul, we had CJ. He used to actually play for the Charlotte Express, but he was in the UK for a while, and then he came over here to Austin, and he was in incredible shape. He played for Clapham. He was a defensive handler stud for them. And let me tell you, he was going to crush it this year for us. It was going to be incredible. He's 6'4", he can throw, he's fast. So he was someone we were so excited about. And then other rookies, let's see. I mean, we returned a lot of players, which was lucky for us because we were so young. I mean, yeah, we might have lost some, the DJs and the Jareds of the world, but we had so many practice players. So I guess that's who I'm remembering. Reese Bowman. He played one game, I think, last year, but he was someone that was literally going to move from practice player that played one game to O-line. Like, he had made such leaps and bounds. He played with us this club season on HIP. I was so pumped. I was just so pumped for this team, man. We were going to be one of those teams that no one cared about because we were 3-9 last year. And no one realized that we were injury prone or travel prone or any of those things. We were going to make some noise. I was really, really excited, but that's how it goes sometimes. Give me the tournament. No, I'm just kidding.
I still cared about you, Matt. I still cared about you.
I know you did, Evan. That's why you're the
I'd take
best.
the tournament for sure. I would definitely take that tournament. Let's do it.
Trying to think what happened after this game. And, did we all go to that bar right around the corner from House Park?
Yes, the tavern. I couldn't because I couldn't walk, but y'all all went, and I felt the most FOMO in my life.
Yeah, Mazur.
Yeah, I remember hanging out.
You and a bunch of Aviators guys had, didn't you drive to Dallas, leaving at what do you guys do? I forget. It was something crazy. You drove halfway around 2 a.m.
Yeah, I think we just got on the road and drove, and we had
after hanging out for a couple hours.
Yeah, most guys got on the road and just went straight to Dallas because it's not at that time of night it's not that long of a drive. But there were a few of us that stayed for a little bit, hung out, and then got on the road. Yeah.
I remember Toner and I stayed over in Austin and then drove together to Dallas. And I think it was a 1 o'clock game. We probably pulled up to the Colony around 12:40. Perfect timing.
Oh my Lord!
It was freaking freezing that day in Dallas.
It was cold and windy.
Yeah. Were you weren't there, were you, Matt?
Oh, I watched. Yeah, I'm obsessed and whatever. Also, I couldn't move, so what was I supposed to do?
How long did it take the ankle to feel 100% again?
Actually, it's still not 100%, to be completely honest. I mean, even ping pong, a day later, it'll be super sore on a rough day. But to the point where I could stop wearing a brace was about 2.5 years later. So very recently, this club season was the first time.
Wow. Well, this game was awesome and crazy and just nuts. And it was fun to relive it with you both. Chris, any closing thoughts on life as we sit here in mid-May 2020, wondering what the world is going to be? I mean, there's really nothing to declare other than just trying to make it through every day, from my perspective. But curious what your closing comments would be.
Yeah, I'm sure I definitely have closing comments. A very difficult time in history, and it has nothing to do with the fact that there's a virus keeping us all at home. And we are very privileged in where we sit. The three of us right here getting to talk and just being able to do this, and we have to acknowledge that every chance we have. And we need to be advocates for those who aren't nearly as privileged, for those who get torn down by the society and the things that are out there. And if we don't acknowledge that openly and use the platforms that we have to try to make a difference, then it won't change. And we're not going to make the change, but we need to be doing that every chance we have. So I appreciate the opportunity and I'm very thankful for it, but I know that even if you are out there listening to this still at this moment, you are privileged enough to be sitting there listening to this on a computer, right? And that in itself is something to acknowledge, and you need to remember that. And it's an important thing to take with you, that even in a time of everything that we're going through, we're still living in a country where like horrible things happen, like what happened in February, and things like that shouldn't happen. So, yeah, that's all my closing. Like I just want to make sure that people remember that and know that, and can support and wear this gear, buy this gear, and love the women around you, because they matter so much.
Well said. Matt, not easy to follow that, but any closing words as we wrap things up tonight?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris is right. We couldn't be luckier than we are. But watching this game, talking with you guys, one, I love it. You guys are the greatest. Everyone we get to play with is the greatest. The sport we have, we're so lucky to be surrounded by people that love the sport and love us. And I hope people can remember that, because in times like this, it's easy to be very focused on, what's happening versus what we're surrounded by. And that's people that love us, family, friends, all that stuff. I hope you guys continue to keep watching these games with us. Keep thinking about the things that are pressing forward. Keep us hopeful for the future, because I promise there's a future that's going to be very similar to the one we used to live. So yes, thank you guys for hanging out with us. This has been incredible, and looking forward to being a part of this, just in the side that you guys are on, in the Facebook comments, making fun of the three people that are doing the talking.
Now you've been in this chair, so take it easy on them.
Yeah,
Especially
fair enough.
Especially the guy in the middle. Chris Mazur, Matt Bennett, thank you both so much. I knew you guys would both be great, and you were. Tons of fascinating moments in this broadcast tonight. Thursday Night Rewind presented by Deschutes. We'll have another one for you next week. AUDL Retro triple header coming up on Saturday. For Chris and Matt and Luke and everyone with the AUDL, Evan Lepler saying good night. Take care, everybody.